Hey, what's up, guys? Just setting up the Twitch restream here. We're going to try streaming a little bit later today, like this. I think I'll keep experimenting with different stream times throughout the week. Because I keep getting messages from people that are either just barely missing it or, yeah, not realizing it was up. So, yo, what's up, Computer Graphics? How's it going? Oh, sorry, Glenn, if you're still in the chat. Yeah, I was going to start it a little bit later at like 4-ish, but I finished the work I had to do, so we're starting a bit earlier. Yeah, so this one's cool. I did some testing before the stream to make sure it was working. And I want to pull the mod page up actually real quick. I don't know if you guys got a chance to check out this new spell pack mod, but it is seriously impressive stuff. Oh, we got a guy on us here. But yeah, this mod's really cool. I've yet to see a mod with some new spells have this much like physics to it. There's screen shaking and crazy sound effects, and you can toss enemies into the air. It's really, really sick. But there's a couple other things that some of the spells do, so I just want to bring the mod page up real quick. I'm going to try setting up this stream goal thing here, too. How do I do this? All right, let's see. What's up, Kana? How's it going? Yeah, we got some interesting Weathermancy spell pack mod here. It adds 6 new spells. We're going to fool around with it. What's up, Yuval? Yeah, I did a little bit of testing just to make sure it was working, and it looks really good. I might have been having one small issue with it, but we'll test and make sure that's actually consistent. Because it could just be me not understanding how the mod works. Going well, hoping for rain IRL. Nice. Some cozy rain. That's a good fit for this Weathermancy stream here. I was also going to cover a little bit of the vampire mod. I don't know if we'll get to that. I guess it depends. We'll see. Yo, what's up, Nathan? Weathermancy? Yes, sir. Yeah, I'm excited. It's really cool. It is a surprisingly impressive kind of, I guess, like, physics has been added to it. It's really kind of surprising how it works. Hey, what's up, Eno? How's it going? Good to see you. Yeah, it's kind of impressive. I did not expect it to have the physics that it has. I'm gonna set up a little like test, and we'll do some fun stuff with it. I can actually show you guys how I like to set up these encounters. It's pretty cool. We'll just wait a little bit longer for people to come in. I kept changing the schedule time for this stream, so sorry about that. Opala, how's it going? Oh man, there's gonna be something? Yeah, this is really cool. And actually, in general, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Relentless Positivity. That's the name of the mod author for this. But he has been making some crazy stuff recently in general. He is kind of a... Well, he's not really a new modder. He's been around, but he's just kind of been putting out some really cool recent mods. He's also the one that did Dragon Rider, which is really, really nice. And I think he mods for other games as well. But for Daggerfall Unity, he just came out with Dragon Rider like 2 weeks ago, maybe? And then just released this Weathermancy Magic Spell Pack, which was like 2 days ago. We've been in a drought for months. Could do with the local mountains not spontaneously combusting. Oh, man. I've always wanted a way to affect weather in-game without using console commands. Part of the game for me is looking at the landscape and the rain. So beautiful. Yeah, absolutely, Nathan. And actually, it's pretty cool. This Weathermancy mod is not just... it's not all just offensive spells. There's some cool stuff like that that does change the weather. So yeah, this is a good option for you, probably, if you like that. I barely had to mow my yard this year because it's been so dry. Earlier this summer, all the outside foliage was yellow and brown. Wow. Yeah. I've been listening to the Daggerfall OST while working on my game. I swear I'm now hearing it in my dreams. Oh, what kind of game are you working on, Kana? That sounds kind of cool. Is it Daggerfall inspired, or is it something entirely different? I had to mow my girlfriend's lawn in the rain yesterday. Oh, man. Daggerfall / Morrowind inspired. Very cool. Are you using Unreal Engine 5? I'm in Appalachia, but apparently England has been going through heat wave after heat wave and insane drought. Yeah, it hasn't the EU in general. A lot of the countries had some pretty crazy heat waves this summer. That wet grass smell. What's up, Barry? How's it going? Godot. Oh, I'm not familiar with that. A staple of the Midwest in the summer, humidity is crazy here. Yeah, I'm on the East Coast, so it's not too bad here, usually. Although it has been kind of a hotter summer at some points. But really not too bad. I can't complain compared to what I'm sure the Midwest is getting. All right. We got some people here. I think we're ready. Let me turn some of this overlay stuff off. And yeah, let's take a look at this. Yo, what's up, Vox? Man, this mod is insane. Relentless Positivity has been on a roll. Yeah, he's been doing some awesome work recently. I was just looking at like his whole mod page, and he does some mods for other games I didn't realize. But he's actually been doing Unity mods for a while. He just recently had some really inspired and cool new projects, I guess. But yeah, this has been really nice. I think 2 weeks ago was when he dropped the Dragon Rider mod, so he's been busy, I'm sure. Wales had wildfires, which are just insane. For those who don't know, Wales is famous for ranging between damp to drowned. Yeah, that sounds insane. Never been to the East Coast? Yeah, it's pretty nice, depending on where you go. It's not too bad. I can't complain too much. Can't believe how bad it's got. Yeah, it's kind of insane. So you can see my little battlefield of corpses here. I've been busy testing this mod in this location here. And, wow, it's a nice little mountain we got in the background here. I visit Midwest quite a bit, and yeah, I love it, but also the heat and humidity there can be insane, yeah. Worcester, Mass every year to help host a music festival. Oh, that sounds sick. It's always rainy, but I love it. Nice. A music festival, that's cool. Corpse Field, yeah. So it's kind of interesting with this mod. First, we get a couple of spells that just affect the actual weather. So you can summon a storm here, and just like that, we get a storm. And I was wondering if it would show up in our actual stats page, but it looks like it probably doesn't. So the storm here does increase your destruction skill. And I don't know if that applies to the game's normal weather as well as the spell weather, or if it's just when you cast a spell. So I'm actually not sure. And because it doesn't show up on the stats page, someone would have to probably test that by looking at damage numbers or something. But yeah, casting this will create a storm here, and this increases our destruction skill. Then we can use this fog, and this is really cool too. This actually increases your stealth. So let's take a look and see if we have a little buff notification on stealth. Here's stealth. No, it looks like we can't see for sure. Well, I guess we could actually test it. So it says 21% here, right? Let's go back to lightning here, and let's see if it has adjusted. It did. Oh, okay, cool. So it doesn't show up as a blue. Sometimes the reason I was thinking it wasn't showing up was sometimes in this game, if you have a stat buff, you'll see like a blue highlight on it just to make it more obvious. But it's really good that this shows up in the actual stat page for us to check out. So looks like it increases it by like 15%, which is pretty cool. So that's what the fog does. And I love how you just press a single button to just completely change the weather like this. And the music theme also changes, which is kind of funny. Dungeon synth music, no less. It's legit. Oh, nice. That sounds sick. Dungeon synth music came up in like my Instagram algorithm for something. I was listening to some of it. Pretty cool stuff. I wonder if there's a mod to add Doom monsters to Daggerfall. It wouldn't surprise me. I feel like they'd be a good fit, right? Doom also kind of has like this similar style, right? It's very nice looking rain. Yeah, it does look good. Shpan, you heard about the game War Sim Realm of Aslona? If so, what do you think of it? No, I've never heard of that. Is it a sandbox RPG like Daggerfall, or more like it sounds like it almost could be like a strategy game with the name War Sim. Yeah, so there's also Blizzard here. And Blizzard does a combination of the storm and the fog. So when you got Blizzard going on, you get increased stealth and increased destruction. But it's a little bit lower. It's like halfway of each, I think. So we only have 11 stealth instead of the 6% I think we normally have. But that's pretty cool too. And that's our 3 spells. Oh no, there's also clear skies. Yeah, that's right. So there's also clear skies here. This just brings you back to the set weather 0 from the console command, it looks like. And during this weather, you have increased speed. And interesting, yeah, we see the blue highlight here that I was talking about. So when this is off, so it's 5 speed. We get a little bit of a bonus to speed with clear skies, which is really nice, actually. I like how we can control this however we want. The one thing I was noticing in this mod, and I don't know if this is intentional or if it's something with my mod list or something, but when I was testing it, casting certain weather spells was canceling my weather effect here. So I'll show you that in a second here. I feel that my plans for weather has too many forms of rainy days, got nothing to do with we're living in a country where rain is very much described in degrees. Easily is good enough. Shorts weather. It's sort of a mix of 4X and RPG. Interesting. Yeah, I've never heard of that. I have not played too many 4X games, honestly. I don't know if I've ever really played a proper 4X game, now that I'm thinking about it. I don't think so. Doom monsters would really fit in Daggerfall. Probably would be trivial considering Doom has been open source for decades. Yeah, I'd imagine too that of all the games to try and import enemies from, Doom's got to be one of the easier ones for Daggerfall to handle, I feel like. I would use clear skies every day. Yeah, it does look nice. And I like having a little speed buff. That was a good touch. Makes it easier to move through it when you got a good view, I guess, of everything. Mistily is that kind of rain that's like being misted with a watery mist. Oh, gotcha. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. You're from Oregon? Nice, yeah. I've never been to Oregon, but I have been to the West Coast. Been to Seattle. So kind of close. Not that close, I guess, but yeah. Yeah, let's set up a little thing here. I'm going to trigger the no target function here so we can set up some enemies. And let's try to keep them in the same group here. I'm trying to think of the knights. It's 145 and 144, right? That should both be knights, I think. Yeah, okay. So let's get some put around this tower here. And then I'll show you guys the physics of how this works. It's really, really cool. And if you, what's it called? Yeah, if you ever want to do this yourself, like set up enemies before you actually fight them without them aggroing you, you can use the console command NT. That'll cause no target, so enemies will not see you. And then when you're ready to actually fight, you can just press it again. All right, so let's start by putting the skies down here. And check out how crazy this tornado is. Oh, man. Look how it tosses them up in the air like that. The physics are just crazy. How it shakes the screen as well. The sound is kind of insane, actually. Very intense. And that's a look at the top there. And you can notice how it's kind of... it's kind of creating this like dust effect in the background. I don't know if you guys can see that too well. It shows up a little bit here. Yeah, oh, you can see it much better when it first starts. Yeah, like all the debris that's swirling around this thing. But yeah, you guys might have noticed that it cancels out my sky effect, right? So it's kind of, I don't know if that's intended. It's kind of interesting. I feel it should be raining when you use the tornado. Yeah, if I bring up this here and use other spells, there's no issue. But as soon as I cast tornado, it cancels out my thunderstorm. I can recast it, I guess. Man, that looks so cool. How loud is the sound effect? Is it really loud for you guys? It's kind of loud in my headphones. I don't know if it's drowning out my voice, the tornado. Yeah, I'll test if there's any others that do this. There's also a lightning strike like this. And the farther away it is, it looks really good. When it's up close, it's a little crazy. It's breaking up the audio? Oh, interesting. Do I sound okay right now, my voice? I wonder if this has some settings. Like, it sounds like my audio driver is just giving up trying to make the sound. Interesting. Okay. Huh. Yeah, I wonder if there is an option to... I don't think this has an in-game options here. No. Wow, that spell looks awesome. Yeah, it's absolutely insane. I can't believe how cool the physics are for tossing enemies up in the air. That's what blows my mind about it. And the screen shake is cool too, though there is an option in the mod settings to turn off the screen shake if you don't like it. Lightning goes bang when it hits close. Yeah. It looks really nice. The really bright flash across the screen is Pretty intense, though. I assume these do not work indoors. Yes, that's right. You can't cast any of these indoors. So that's kind of cool. I didn't realize that Dragontail Mountains with the World of Daggerfall project had all these towers around here. I'm seeing that one over there. They're kind of unique looking. Like, I have not seen these anywhere else on the map, I don't think. I don't know if you guys have noticed this in other regions, but yeah, I just noticed these today, actually. Pretty far out in Dragontail Mountains. Imagine you can burn trees with this lightning? Yeah, that would be cool. Yeah, unfortunately, no. It goes so far, though. You guys can see how far that is. That's absolutely crazy. No casting indoors sounds like even more reason to make more content around the world. Yeah, absolutely. And it's kind of a cool way to balance the power of the spells, right? I always kind of like that about Daggerfall with the outdoor or indoor restrictions. Since so much, or I guess all of the dungeon delving is technically considered indoors by the game, you can make spells that can only be casted outdoors a little bit stronger as a balancing tool, since they have that restriction. Lightning works indoors if you have a power outlet and paid your bill. True. I think they had the idea of it being like the marches in the UK, so defensive castles along the border. Yeah, it does look like something like that. And it's a really good fit for Dragontail Mountains, though I'm in the center here. They are outside of Dragontail as well, I think. Maybe it is about securing this perimeter, though. That actually could be what the thought was. But it's just kind of interesting because I've never noticed this anywhere else in any other region in the entire game. So I do feel like this is specific for Dragontail Mountains, which is cool because there's a couple other things about the World of Daggerfall project that is specific to certain regions only. Or if it's not just for one region, it's for just a few. Like, you won't find the Orc Fortresses in every single region in Daggerfall, I don't think, with the mod. But yeah, this might just be for Dragontail Mountains. Those custom effects look great. Yeah, they look really amazing, honestly. I kind of want to turn off the sounds here and just see how this is. Okay, even with that, it doesn't turn off the actual sound for me. I do feel like this tornado sounds a little bit too harsh for me, personally. And it doesn't seem like it's affected by the sounds volume, which is kind of unfortunate. Feels like I don't know a single thing about this game's overworld because I only use fast travel. Rip, yeah. What's up, C. Rudux? How's it going? Yeah, I know. If you don't have a heavily modded Daggerfall, then it's not too enticing to explore the world. You definitely need a few mods to help make that more interesting and more fun. What do they look like on the inside? You unfortunately can't enter these. They're not real structures. There's no interior cell. But you can go on top, and there are some NPCs up here, actually, which is kind of funny. Which is, yeah, this is kind of cool. But yeah, even this door here, I checked earlier, there's no interior cell here. Not a real door. But looks nice up here as well. Some NPCs. These guys you can't talk to, though, actually, so they're just decoration. I like how the Iliac Bay is just a less detailed Mediterranean Sea. Yeah. Can we crouch this and I could just clip through with this here? But yeah, you can see a bunch of these out there. It's kind of interesting. Imagine doing that in a dungeon. Yeah, that would be insane. Yo, what's up, Glenn? I saw your message earlier, Glenn. Yeah, I kept changing the scheduled time, but we started a little bit earlier. Yeah, I wish I could change the sound effect of this tornado, though. Even with a really low volume, it's super harsh. No fun? Yeah. A lot of these like decorations from World of Daggerfall project actually often don't have interiors. So there's no interior to those lighthouses in the ports either, which I really wish there was. That'd be really interesting to see. Yeah, so I guess a lot of these don't have interior cells, unfortunately. Maybe someday if the mod gets updated. But even without them, they're amazing decorative pieces for the game. Actually, I want to check a port real quick. While listening to Keeper of the Seven Keys. I'm not familiar with that, I don't think. Let's see if this place has a port. These spells probably would be clutch in a raid at a farm or something. Oh yeah, for sure. You'd be tossing NPCs into the air. We'll check that out, actually. We might as well do that. I just kind of wish I could change the sound for you guys. I feel like it's... I don't know. Does it bother you, a lot of you guys, the tornado sound effect? Is it too strong? German heavy metal. Gotcha. Maybe I should check them out. Mount models always add just that extra bit of oomph to the visuals. Yeah, absolutely. I really love being in like a very mountainous area. It's just sometimes it does lag for me personally, but I think that's also partly because my mod list is really screwed up right now, honestly. This is a weirdly shaped city here. A huge one too. But yeah, you'll notice even these lighthouses don't actually have interiors. You just get that doors barred from the other side sign, but they do have a little cool section up here, actually, which looks nice. Just a torch, though, or a brazier, whatever it's called. And there's a different type of port that has a slightly different looking lighthouse that you also can't enter. Which makes me really appreciate that SquidKamer did decide to include interiors for the windmills, which look amazing. I love having unique interiors like this, because you really don't see this type of thing in Daggerfall too much, and you especially don't see it in modded content. The interiors we have in the base game, there's some variety, but not too much. And this is just really nice. This is the dream player house for me. I'll share it with this fellow here. Doesn't bother me. Obtain that grain in the windmill? Yeah. I like how there's some like movement in here too. We got this giant wheel turning. Ramstein, Dr. Stein is great. The church organ solo is a masterpiece. Parkour, yeah. Let's check out a little farm battle, actually. This area is lagging too. I gotta really find the source of this, and I think it's mostly to do with my water mods. I think I have both animated water and Iliac Puddle No More working simultaneously. And they're supposed to have... what's it called? They do have compatibility with each other. Oh, I don't have no puddle mod on right now. Okay. But this is kind of the look of that mod. So, I don't know. I think this file probably had it on, and then now that I've taken them off, I kind of screwed it up. Which I've been doing a ton with a bunch of my different characters these days with my mod list. That is so nasty, this lightning. But it's kind of... You can see it, but because of the huge, like, smoke cloud, when it's up close, it's kind of hard to get the really cool-looking lightning effect visually. Like, when it's far away, you see it so perfectly. But that big... Like, the big dust that comes up here makes it a little hard to see. but it is crazy looking regardless. Spider that poor thug, yeah. Is it like an anime power? Yeah, for real. These are pretty insane magic skills here. We'll actually check out like a big, let's do a large scale battle somewhere. Let me get somewhere not too laggy, like maybe Glen Point won't be too bad. Somewhere southwest in Glen Point. Let's see, we got some farmsteads. This one should be like a bigger one. Maybe we'll try here. Let me catch up on some chat here, though. I wonder if there could be a mod to convert Trench Broom maps to Daggerfall assets. It's a Quake map editor. Would be perfect for Daggerfall style. Interesting. I do think a lot of those old boomer shooters, like aesthetically, look pretty similar to Daggerfall, right? Like Quake, Doom, of course. Godot has a tool for that, but alas, Daggerfall Unity is Unity. True, yeah. Shpan, why the windmill is your dream house, man? I'd love to see how you'll decorate it. Yeah, I just think it's a cool interior space, U-Ball. I like the, I like that there's some like movement in there with the wheel that turns. I like that it's got a large vertical space. I like how there's like an upstairs that's not separated, so it has like a good view at the bottom floor. Yeah, I just think it'd be cool. I don't know. I also kind of like how they're outside the walls of cities usually. I can kind of live out some kind of life sim playthrough. Maybe I'm like a farmer or something. Glen Point? Glen Point for Glen. Let's do it. The ambient occlusion is doing some serious heavy lifting for those outdoor scenes. Looked really good in that bandit camp. Oh, yeah? Yeah. Do I have that on right now? Or is that just like a base part of Unity? Good afternoon. What is up, Casemiro? How's it going? We're testing out some of this new Weathermancer stuff. Yeah, let's check this out real quick then. This should spawn a large-scale battle for us. Looks like you do? Yeah, I might actually. I thought those effects didn't work for, we got the orcs. Okay. This is not what we wanted. This is going to be kind of small. Oh man, this lightning strike is so ridiculous. Alright, let's toss some of these orcs in the air here. I want to see the fall damage take one of these guys out. This is so ridiculous. Can I get tossed as well? Let me run into this here and see if I get thrown up. Oh, that would have been kind of cool. I would have loved that, actually. The sound effect, I think, is too much, though, for me, personally. I have it so low, and it's still pretty harsh, I feel like. Whoa, mama. Yeah. The spells are OP. Yeah, absolutely. It's so funny, actually. Absolutely ridiculous. I actually love how this mod author was able to capture, like, the physics of it correctly. I really haven't seen too many other modded spells have that kind of physics, like tossing enemies up in that kind of realistic way. And it would be kind of cool if they took fall damage. It's a little hard to tell. I think they do take fall damage, but it's not that high. I mean, it's pretty high. Let's see. It's hard to tell if he just died or died to fall damage. And I love, you see the dust that's swirling in the sky around it? I mean, that just looks so nice, too. Can you destroy the Daggerfall city? You wouldn't be able to raise buildings with this spell, no, unfortunately. If someone wants to build that kind of compatibility, that would be so sick. The camera shake is crazy? Yeah, and the camera shake is absolutely insane. Is the Armageddon spell from Ultima 7? That tornado is so insane? Yeah, it's actually ridiculous. It does have an outdoor restriction, and since every single dungeon in Daggerfall is technically indoors, you wouldn't be able to use it in there. So that does help balance it a little bit, right? Not too much. Very balanced spells, yeah, especially for my... What level? I'm just level 1 on this character. This is just a test character. We have God mode triggered just to test out the spells. This is not like a real playthrough character for me. Tornado that orc? Yeah. I saw that someone put Fusro Da into Morrowind. That's kind of sick. Someone was mentioning that for Daggerfall the other day as well. Sounds more like a rocket fall. Yeah, it does sound a little strange to me as well. And it's just kind of harsh, the effect, I think, for me. That is my only criticism, though, which is a very small criticism. And the actual camera shake, you can turn off in the settings, but you have to do it from the main Unity page, the startup page you have to do it from, because there's no in-game setting options for it, unfortunately, but that's okay. The next level mod upgrade is the windmill increases speed in storms. Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. Hey, we still got one orc here. And I can also make it rain here. Man, this is like absolutely insane. I don't know how Relentless Positivity got this lightning effect, because this is not in Daggerfall. And I've seen other people get around this by combining the normal spell effects in Daggerfall, which look more like this. You see how it's kind of got like a fuzziness to it? You could combine that fuzziness into like a pillar, and then you could do a lightning strike, right? By just combining like 20 of them right next to each other. But this is not like that. This is like an actual new effect, new artwork, which is crazy. What's up, Keaton? Well, that sweet lightning bolt? Yeah, really crazy. We've been getting just so much good, like, custom spells these days, including all the really sick stuff that came with Astrid's Necromancy mod, which has a ton of new ideas and new spells that are really, really sick for Necromancer builds. Although the realism nut in me realizes in high winds the windmill wouldn't be turning since they would turn the mechanism off. Yeah, that does make sense. And there is a guy in there always working, so they should be on it. It is cool, though, that you also can just, you know, control the weather with a button now. If you guys didn't know, you could do set weather and then choose through 1 through 6. 0 being like clear, 1 gives you a little cloudiness, 2 gives you overcast, 3 is fog, 4 is rain, 5 is thunder, and 6 will be snow. But yeah, if you set that to normal here, the spell is a little different. The snow here makes it like a little foggy as well in the skies, which is nice. And they have their own little buffs as well. I mentioned it earlier, but yeah, the blizzard gives you an increase to your stealth skill and an increase to your destruction magic. The fog is just a big boost to your stealth. And storming like this is a big increase to your destruction skill. That realism, what in you? Never mind, I read that wrong. The lightning reminds me of Strife. Interesting. I'm not sure what that is. All these mods are blowing my mind. I was just watching your Thief live stream. The jump mod is so good. Yeah, the jump mod's amazing. That's actually been around for a little while now. For some reason, I had an issue with it that was entirely my fault back then when it came to setting the hotkey. So I turned it off for a bit. But now I have it set up where it doesn't replace... Oh, I can even show you. This jump ability, it doesn't replace my normal jump anymore. And I have my own hotkey for it. I use the X key. And I like how there's different setups for it. If you are crouching, you get more vertical on your jump. And then you can climb up by clambering. If you got shift held down, you'll get like a sprint, a further horizontal arch here. And then if you have nothing, it's just kind of like somewhere in the middle. The snow ambience is peak of Daggerfall. Yeah, it's really, really nice. We could put the blizzard on for you. I also like the snow themes a lot for the music. I need to learn how he made those custom spell animations. Yeah. Especially like, I don't know. I just really love the physics of tossing the enemy. We could try turning off the camera shake to see how it looks as well. But yeah, absolutely crazy. The more you change the weather, the more I think the fog music is not the correct track. It doesn't seem to fit. Interesting. Yeah, there's a couple different ones. There's one for fog and there's one for Overcast, right? I don't know if they use the same theme, but they look very similar anyway. One of the greatest things about Daggerfall mods is witnessing amazing talents. Yeah, absolutely, Yuval. Could not agree more. There's, I mean, especially recently. I don't know, everyone's motivated, I feel like, these days. All the Daggerfall Unity modders have all this inspiration lately. I feel like maybe when the scene's more active, it makes everyone more excited to work on their stuff, right? I feel like every modder could be inspired by other great mods. Wouldn't surprise me it's not correct given the development of the game. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me either. A lot of the track sounds or the track names are very simple though, and they just use the name of the weather. Like for this song here, the song that plays during this is actually just called Snow, I think. So the track names are kind of funny. First time I saw the jump arc, I thought you were peeing. Yeah, it's actually taken from, if I remember correctly, Battlespire. The Elder Scrolls Battlespire game is where that comes from. I said jump is my primary skill, could jump about 20 feet. Yeah, I love having jump as a primary skill. I really like it on my martial classes. It's a lot of fun. You actually can get like a really good jump height if you combine it with athleticism advantage in this game. It does sound like snow. Yeah, I think so too. So this song here is not the normal snow theme. If I was in a town, it would sound a little different. This is the outdoor wilderness snow theme, I guess. Yeah, I'll be right back, guys. I gotta take a quick bio break. I got some tea here as well. I'm finishing up. Let me put the overlay up. I'll be right back. One sec. All right, we're back. Let me get rid of this overlay thing here. And I'll catch up on chat real quick. I wonder how hard it would be to mod the dungeon generation algorithm. Huh. Do you mean like setting up new designs for the interior, or like changing enemy spawns and quest marker spawns and all that stuff as well? I think yeah, I think some of the custom dungeons are able to pretty easily set up their own quest marker locations, so I don't think stuff like that was too much of an issue. For actual like randomizing the design, I'm not sure. This is the tune I want to listen to when I'm driving to my parents through the mountain pass of the snow at Christmas. Yeah, absolutely. Actually, if we go to the one of the cities during the snow, that's one of my favorite tracks in this game. Though, it doesn't always play. I think there's 2 different versions that can play. Biological interruption? Yeah. I think this whole track is just 2 chords repeating, right? So elegant. Yeah, a lot of the music is pretty simple, but pretty nice. It's not actually winter months, so I have to set it manually. Yeah, I really like this song. Though, I didn't realize at the time, but the bells kind of can be a little distracting because it kind of never stops. That little like shaking bell in the background. I kind of wish it like occasionally stopped in this song and then came back. But yeah. We used to call sandals thongs when I was a kid. I've heard that term used for sandals before as well. These ones here. Star Control 2 had the best ambient music. I've never played that game. Yeah, I used this song, kind of hilariously. I used this song when I made the video where I first talked about Wayward Realms. And like every other comment, I don't know how many of you guys were still following me back then or subscribed back then, but like half the comments were like, this insane bell is driving me crazy. Needs less cowbell? Yeah. I felt kind of bad about that. I learned my lesson during that video. But the actual melody of the song is pretty cool. I like this one. There was a freemium game called BOTZ, or Bots, that had awesome menu music. Nice. Yeah, I don't think I've heard of Bots either. Can you cast lightning while riding a dragon? That would be insane euphoria. Let's test it. We got the new model for the dragon here. Look how good this looks. Part of what I like for this model is how it looks when you're dismounted. To me, this is so much nicer than just looking at the Dragonling model. Like, this looks proper dragon to me. Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay. Is the Jack Be Nimble mod based on the jump skill? It is based on the jump skill. It actually has a lot of different considerations. If you look at the mod page, he does go into some in-depth explanation there. But yeah, it also adds a few other things. It lets you do a landing roll to reduce damage, depending on your jump skill. It might also use some attributes in that calculation. I can't remember off the top of my head, though. Knowing Red Rorio the Glen, it probably has a in-game setting thing here. It does. Yeah. Yeah, you can also control the clamber speed. So this is your ability to just like climb up on ledges. And this is a real game changer. Though I do have some tips on how to make this better. But the contextual clambering will let you perform this without doing the modded jump, which is really nice. And you have a landing roll. And that depends on, yeah, requires greater than 49% jumping skill. Reduces fall damage by some amount. You could also increase the power, increase the base jump distance. So you have a lot of control here how you want to set it up. You can even remove the assist thing. But yeah, the way the clambering works is really cool, actually. If I just do a little parkour in the town here. If you are holding the sprint button and holding forward, then you'll clamber onto stuff. So if I wanted to get up on top of this ledge, I don't even need to use my climbing skill. I could jump, and she'll clamber on, pull herself up on top. And this works even if you kind of miss the jump. So I'm going to intentionally kind of miss this jump. Or maybe I could do it better here. Yeah. See, I can kind of clamber on. I missed that one. But yeah, I think you get the idea. It's a little too high. Let's see. Maybe if I crouch, it'll be easier. Yeah, see how he can clamber on like that? Again there. So, you know, if you just get to the ledge, so if I try to run this, I might reach. Yeah, that's what I wanted to show you. Even that, you can like pull yourself up on top. It's really, really sick. I love how the Elder Scrolls modding community has gone to the current lore, I reject your reality, and substitute my own. Yeah. Yeah, basically just build your own sandbox. That's what I love about Elder Scrolls. But yeah, you don't have to set up the clamoring skill or tool to be like this either if you don't want. You could just take the jumping alone if that's what you like. The only thing about the clamoring, you just got to be a little bit careful where you're sprinting, because you'll sometimes contextually clamor onto things that are very low, like a staircase sometimes even can be clamored onto. I can't reach my dragon. All right, oh yeah, let's try casting. Can you even cast in general? Oh, you can. Oh, this is crazy. Oh, we get such a good visual, too, of how this lightning spell looks from up here. For some reason, I did not even realize I could be casting spells on my dragon. I didn't even test that when I did the mod showcase video on my channel. I wonder if the mod name is spelled Jack in reference to the Jack and Daxter series. Yeah, I don't know. I've heard of Jack Be Nimble, but I didn't know about J-A-K for that either. So I actually have no idea where the mod author got the name from. The crouch jump reminds me of that game in particular. Yeah, for sure. It is kind of platformy kind of vibe. Yo, what's up, Fiffinger? How's it going? But yeah, it looks like we can cast these spells from the air. I kind of also wonder, I don't think the town NPCs will get tossed up. Nah, they just disappear if they die. AC 130 in the air. Yeah, that's crazy. It wasn't me. Yeah. That sound is so scary. My God, yeah, it's a little too intense, I feel like. And it's not affected by this sound effect here, or else I would turn it down for you guys. There are some settings on the main page if you check out like the mod startup page for Unity. But in-game, it doesn't have a settings option, so. But it is cool that we can cast from the sky. Careful with the civilians? Yeah, I kind of wish they had the physics to get tossed up as well, but they just disappear if they take damage, I guess. That's kind of how it always is, though. At least with my setup. There might be a mod out there that you guys have that changes that. So I can't actually change the sound of it. I'm curious. Maybe it counts as music. Let's see. Nope, definitely does not count as music. Okay. My dragon's gonna get caught up in the tornado. It sounds like undead banshee ghosts are swirling around in the tornado. Yeah, it does sound absolutely crazy, honestly. I haven't tested, actually. There is a way to bring this dragon to follow you. And I'm kind of curious. Yeah, this is actually just like a proper dragon model like this. So I guess I wonder if SquidKamer added this to his like enemy pool. Because if you guys don't know, SquidKamer also made the Warm Ashes Wilderness mod, which adds a lot of enemies to the game and a lot of other cool stuff. But I'd never seen this dragon, but maybe it does spawn at really high levels in the overworld or wilderness. That would be really crazy. A little too high up for me to touch. That's an awesome sprite, though. Yeah, absolutely. Looks really, really nice. I'm really impressed with these new spells we got coming out from a bunch of different mod authors. We got the Borrowed Skins spell pack. We got the Weathermancer now. We have Astrid's Necromancy. Just a ton of cool stuff. If I was also going to nitpick a little bit more, I do kind of wish that this lightning spell didn't create that like flash of white right on top of the screen. I don't know if that comes off as kind of strong for you guys as well, but yeah, it's a little intense. Damn, that's dope. Yeah, really sick stuff. What's up, Dubious NPC? How's it going? Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. I don't even know how these custom effects got made like this. I always thought there was some like issue with Daggerfall's, I don't know, like coding or something, where it was very hard to do that. At least that's what I'd heard. And that's why so many of the spell effects in this game are either borrowing from assets that already exist in the game, or they basically just look like every other spell, which is kind of like this weird fuzzy projectile thing. There's not that many spell mods, Daggerfall modders, challenge accepted. Yeah. Yeah, I did say that like just a month ago, right? Or I kind of wish there was more spell mods, and finally, yeah, we got some really cool ones. Though I can never complain about anything with this modding community. They're always cooking. And every month we get a bunch of awesome new stuff. But yeah, I always thought that there was something to like spell effects that made it very, very difficult to do. Dracarys, yeah, you can live out your Targaryen dreams. Hey, Shpan, hey, what's up, Cold Zero? How's it going? Uh-oh, we're lagging a little bit here. We don't want to crash. Let's let the dragon relax. Let's take our crazy tornado here. And let's do a farm large-scale battle real quick. This will be sick. We'll be tossing enemies up in the air. What's up, Shpan? I'm doing good now. Time to chill and do some modding. Nice. What are you working on, Dubious? These weather spells are so cool. Definitely need some tweaks with the sound and visuals, but still so wild to see in Daggerfall. What's up, EquestrianKatz? Yeah, absolutely. That's like a small nitpick that I have, just the sound effect here. But otherwise, yeah, absolutely cannot complain. Let's try to trigger a farm battle here. I have to travel a little bit further. Just because we already got one. I don't know what the reset time is on them. It might be like a week. It could be like a month. I'm not sure. So let's check out a farm here. This is a nice accompaniment. Nice. Also, hey, Shpan, I hope you had a great weekend. Hey, thanks, Cats. Yeah, not too bad. I streamed a lot this weekend. Probably like 6 hours in total. I've been enjoying the streams, though. Trying to try out some different time slots for you guys to see what works best. I think on the weekend it's easier to get more people, but for the weekdays, I'm just kind of doing random times when I have some free time. Hey, Cold Zero, I really appreciate that. Thank you. RSD. I don't even know what currency that is, but that's very generous of you. Thank you. What do you think about the idea to have the party members and maybe control them like you do in Might and Magic? More enemies mod could add to that. Oh, that would be really sick. Yeah, I've always thought about some kind of companion system for Daggerfall like that. And the option to control them would be absolutely insane. I think the closest we have right now, of course, is I don't know if you're familiar with this, but Serbian dinar is $2 for $5. Thank you. That's cool. Shout out to Serbia. I love seeing how many different viewers I have from all over the world like this. Very, very humbling. But yeah, thank you very much. But yeah, you can kind of get a similar vibe. I guess the mod's not actually in this settings thing here. With the language skills overhaul mod. The only problem is you can't actually control those party members. But at least it's kind of a way to capture the companion vibe, the little fellowship vibe that a lot of people want it. But yeah, it would be really sick to have something like that. And I think something that would be really cool about that too is, at least when I play like CRPGs and I have a bunch of companions, I like having stricter like class fantasy concepts for each character. certain characters will have their, pros and cons. Whoa, that dragon just scared me half to death, swooping in like that. But yeah, that everyone can kind of have like their advantages and their disadvantages, and you'd have more specialized classes, Maybe you have like one thief character, and all they do is deal with traps or mercantile stuff where they just kind of get the best deals for your group. And then you have like a fighter that's really just focused on being more tanky and all that. But yeah, I mean, I would love that. And actually, now that you mention it, yo, Barry, thank you very much. I don't super chat anymore. That is extremely kind. Thank you. Oh man, you guys are spoiling me. Yeah, Might and Magic is actually probably the perfect example of that, to be honest, because Might and Magic keeps the first person view, right? So like, if I bring the cursor up here, imagine we had like a portrait here, a portrait here, a portrait here, and a portrait here for 4 different characters. And you could use like the tab button to swap to the next character. And they all have different skills, and they all have different, whatever builds they could be. I feel like it could work for Daggerfall. I don't know why it wouldn't be able to work. You would just have to have 4 different setups in one. If someone could figure that out, then the rest is just as simple as putting portraits and being able to swap to them. Awesome idea. Additional player characters rather than external followers. Yeah, I don't think anything like that exists yet. All right, it's time we try out a farm battle. This is going to be absolutely chaotic, guys. Oh man, we already hit the goal. So I'm going to go an extra hour today. Thanks to the generous super chatters. Keaton, exactly. And if they are too much OP, maybe just limit them to 6 skills. Yeah, that's a good point too. You also don't have to go with like a full build necessarily. Oh, I can feel how laggy this is right now. Would look so good in Daggerfall's aesthetic too. Yeah, I think so, for sure. All right, giants. Oh, we got giants again. Okay. If you look at this too, our dragon's going to help us fight here. At least it should. I want to see how this looks, actually. I haven't checked this out with the new model. Okay. It kind of just shoots out a fireball like that. I want to see it again. Yeah, so it just shoots out a little bit every now and then, which is cool. But this is not the type of battle we want here. Oh, a fundraiser? What's up, Fiffinger? No, I just set up like a little stream goal to go for an extra hour. I think we're going to have to pass some extra time here, though. Because I want the full-scale battle here, not just the giant raid. And we got enemies spawning in, so let me fast fly away real quick so we can fast travel. Also, by the way, I didn't realize until after the stream was done, guys, but yesterday we had 54 concurrent viewers as my all-time highest ever, which was absolutely insane. And I really want to thank you guys for all the support this week. It's been crazy. When I first started streaming, like the live streams, I wasn't sure if you guys really were interested in that or not, or if I should just kind of stick to the, videos. But I've been really, really enjoying the live streams. I didn't realize how fun it would be just to be chatting about games, about Daggerfall, about the mods. And I'm also kind of realizing that the live stream format is actually a little bit better, for me, at least personally, for showcasing mods. Because I get to spend so much time with the mod. And since I'm not just getting clips for videos, I'm actually also able to kind of have like emergent things happen that I don't always catch. If I'm just playing around with myself to, try out a mod, then I won't always discover all the, intricacies and stuff like that exist for it. But intricacies, yeah. But when I do a live stream like this, sometimes just playing around, I'll discover cool stuff about the mod, which doesn't normally make it into my full mod showcase videos. Those copper-colored hills look valuable. Yeah, I think I mean, wouldn't it be cool if like the foraging mod could react to the topography like that, and you could also mine for cool stuff like that? I feel like the foraging mod, like someone could even go much further with that, react to the World of Daggerfall project's specific topographies. But that might be a little bit too crazy. What do you think about people looking back for the Elder Scrolls games besides Skyrim? I mean, Oblivion, Morrowind, and Daggerfall. Do you mean like a more recent interest that have kind of happened with the Elder Scrolls series? What do you think about people looking back for the Elder Scrolls games besides Skyrim? I mean, I think it's great that there's been a lot more renewed interest in Daggerfall these days, and probably Morrowind as well, though I'm not too familiar with the like Morrowind modding scene, or just the community in general, I guess. But yeah, I think it's awesome that there's been this sort of like renaissance for Daggerfall. At least that's the way I see it. I wasn't around for the old days of Daggerfall. I'm actually kind of a relatively new player to the game. I just kind of fell in love with it 2 years ago. But yeah, I do feel like there's a lot more renewed interest. I feel like channels that are covering Daggerfall are doing better than they had in the past. I feel like the modding interest is really up there. And yeah, I mean, it's kind of amazing to see. But even for myself, I do think I should revisit Oblivion. And I should also definitely revisit Morrowind at some point. Ooh, this mountainous area is kind of laggy for me. If I miss the live stream, I still watch it later. Oh, nice. Cold Zero, I appreciate that. Yeah, it is kind of cool. I didn't realize originally on YouTube that my live streams just kind of become a published video once I'm done. So that's kind of nice. And the long form like this for my mod showcases means that people could just check out as much as they want. And if they want to see like all the specifics, they can watch, you know, more of the video. But if they get the general idea, which I try to cover in the beginning of the stream, then they can just bounce when they're done, you know? But yeah, I do think this format is really good for showcasing mods. We're lagging so much. Let's get out of here. All right, we're going to travel kind of far to pass the time, and hopefully we'll get a proper farm large-scale battle here. Dang, nice, congrats. I really enjoy the live streams too. I'm loving the community of everyone too. Yeah, it's been really nice. Yeah, I can't believe how cool this little community of viewers we got here going on, because I was expecting a little bit more trolls, which I do get trolls sometimes, but not often, which I appreciate. I remember people didn't talk much about Oblivion, but when the remastered version came out, they hated it. Then they gave the original a chance, and now they love it. Oh, I see what you're saying, Fergus. Yeah, actually, it would be really interesting, right? How people might react to Daggerfall if it got a remaster like that. I think I made a video just kind of ranting a very long time ago when Oblivion first got announced to be remastered. I was just like, you know, what would a Bethesda Daggerfall remaster or remake look like? And I think it would get a lot of people trying Daggerfall Unity, which is kind of funny. But that's kind of my guess of what would happen. If Bethesda ever did like a proper remaster of Daggerfall, I think it would get a lot of people into actually the Unity version, which I think would end up being a lot better than Bethesda's remaster. I like Elder Scrolls Online until they ruined it. Oh, interesting. Yeah, you know, Barry, actually, I was thinking about playing Elder Scrolls Online, but just sort of, since I'm not really too into MMOs usually, just kind of treating it like a single-player game for myself. I don't know if you think that would work or not for that game, but part of why that interests me is because someone told me that Elder Scrolls Online actually includes every region, which is kind of sick to me, because I would like to see how they designed in like more modern times like this, like Somerset Isle or Valenwood, or some of these other regions that we don't actually get to go to in like the mainline games, you know? So, and I bought Elder Scrolls Online on like a massive discount a long time ago. I think for like $1.99. So I was like considering, should I just treat this as a single player game and just have fun exploring some of these regions that I don't get to check out in the mainline games? I honestly would have always had more interest in Daggerfall if I knew about these mods before I tried the game out and thought, okay, that's it. Yeah, for sure, Keaton. I think if you kind of play like a vanilla experience with Daggerfall, it's I think most people are not going to like that, honestly. it really is elevated by just a few key mods. Good vibe in the chat here? Yeah, for sure. All right, let's see if we can spawn a proper large-scale battle here. That'd be sick. All right. Looks like we're not getting the message. Probably not enough time has passed, so let's just fast travel again across the map to another farm. Every region? Yes, yeah, that's really cool. I would be very curious to see how they designed Valenwood, personally. I just feel like it's such a cool location and a cool culture. The Wood Elves. The Bosmer. The list of cons for Oblivion is too long to enumerate. I didn't spend that much time with it, so I can't say for sure. I do want to revisit it, though. I mean, yeah, I want to at least put like 30-ish hours into every mainline game at some point, just so I get an idea of, you know, how I feel about them. Then I can formulate my own opinion. Looks like we're not farming. I mean, we're not spawning the farm battles here, which is kind of interesting. You can do that pretty easily in ESO. You'll, of course, see all the other players, but there's a lot of single-player content. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, it doesn't bother me to see other players and stuff like that. And I might even group up a little bit if I'm feeling it. But, yeah, I think it could be cool to just treat as a single-player game. So I don't know what we have to do in-game to make these farm battles trigger again. I got 2 of them. Let's just keep traveling, I guess. A really cool and simple mod could be stables, with the possibility to select the horse type, maybe removing the horses from the general shop. Yeah, something like that could be cool. You know, now that you mention it, Jimmy, whenever I look at towns, like let's say I travel to this town real quick. Valenwood is it? Yeah. Valenwood has cannibal elves. Yeah. Yeah, that's always the... Oh, my game crashed. All good. We'll just set this back up in a second here. Yeah, the cannibal elves are interesting. I always kind of enjoyed Elder Scrolls' both their world building, but also their race design. I just think it's really cool. I think their histories are cool. I think it's cool that depending on when in history you are talking about the different factions, they have different relationships. Like, I just feel like Elder Scrolls history is actually very good. And yeah, I like their design for races like that, having interesting cultural things. Let's take a look at Weathermancy real quick. Okay, so we can't actually get rid of that sound effect in the settings here, but we can get rid of the screen shake, which I think we'll do. Use rain weather instead of thunder for summon storm for users with bugged thunder weather. Interesting. Let's get rid of the screen shake and we'll see how that feels. I've had friends IRL falling in love with Daggerfall from me playing it alone. It's cool how much traction the game's been getting. I just started playing a few years ago too. Oh, nice. Yeah. Yeah, Katz. I feel like, I don't know. I feel like it's having like a renaissance. I was actually thinking about making a video just talking about Daggerfall in 2026. And it would kind of be a video to get some new players on board, but it would also just kind of be a discussion about how crazy all the new modding content's been, all the new hype the game's been getting, and also how that hype has also kind of spawned a lot of indie games that are trying to make what's it called, like sandbox RPGs that are similar to Daggerfall. I could think of games like, I don't know if you guys heard of the Indie Scrolls. There's the Indie Scrolls, there's Broken Dagger, there's the Wayward Realms, of course. I just feel like yeah, a lot of people are kind of inspired by Daggerfall's design, I feel like, these days, or at least somewhat inspired by it. All right, we got orcs again. That's unfortunate. Let me put on the god mode so I don't die here. We'll let our dragon fight these guys. I started with Daggerfall in 1998, then came Morrowind. It was a huge jump. Oh man, you actually played it back then, huh? Cold Zero. I was a little bit too young to be playing Daggerfall when it actually first released. I would have been like 4 years old, I think, when Daggerfall released, so it was just a little bit before my time. And I was really playing, I was getting more into like late 90s games like Diablo 2 and stuff like that. That's what kind of got me into fantasy. And then, of course, CRPGs after that, like Icewind Dale. Then came Oblivion, which only had better graphics. Horrible game. I'm getting angry just thinking about it. You really don't like Oblivion, huh, Cold Zero? Also, the main region of Oblivion should be a tropical jungle. Yeah, I've heard that as well. That they kind of... Maybe they retconned it a little bit. Someone said because it was inspired by Lord of the Rings. Oh man, this is crazy. Tossing all the orcs in the air. But yeah, I don't know. I was kind of mixed about Oblivion at first. I wasn't like that excited about it. I fell off of it pretty quickly. But I also think it was kind of, I wasn't really in the right mood to be playing it. But yeah, I will try out Oblivion again this year. But Morrowind goes first for me. I'm trying out Morrowind first. It wouldn't be a Bethesda game if there wasn't a crash involved. Yeah. Actually, though, Samuel, I usually when I crash in Daggerfall Unity, it's just because of the mods. It's not usually Unity's fault. At least I don't think it is. But I just have so many mods that are like obviously corrupt at this point because I turn them off. I'll delete mods, I'll add them, and I do it all on these different characters that screw up my files every now and then. Which doesn't really bother me because these are all test characters. Like this character I made today just to test the Weathermancer stuff. But yeah. What was the first game you listed, Shpan? Listed as in when I was just discussing the late 90s games. I think I said Diablo 2. You totally should. It'd be a great celebration of the Renaissance. Yeah, I have a little bit of a script written already for it. And because I've been doing so many live streams, I haven't really published a video in a while, so I kind of feel bad about that. This week, I'm 100% going to publish something. I got a couple ideas. I just don't know exactly what I'm going to be doing, but I do have a script mostly written out for that. I played Daggerfall on floppy disk in the 90s. Nice. Yeah, I do remember the floppy disks. I'm old enough to still remember those. I'd love to see a game like this, but in a sci-fi post-apocalyptic game like Fallout. I don't have the knowledge and power to make a game at the moment, though. Yeah, I mean, I do feel like CRPGs in general. Though I know Daggerfall is not exactly a CRPG for a lot of people. Most people think of like the Infinity games for that, but I do feel like the sci-fi genre is kind of not well represented in these type of games. I was 16 when I played Daggerfall. Wow. I'm kind of jealous. I wish I could have experienced it in the beginning, because I'm pretty sure it must have been mind-blowing. Late 80s, actually? Gotcha. Tornadoes sound like a kid screaming into a walkie-talkie. Yeah, you know, I was just mentioning, Jimmy, how... I was just mentioning how that's like the one critique I have for the mod right now. Not having the option to turn that off. It's actually really harsh in my headphones as well. The Elder Scrolls history is fun. Seems we're spoiled for choices in that regard. It's probable that the change in Cyrodiil's biome was because of Lord of the Rings, but I don't think there was any official documentation for that. Yeah, I mean, it would have been the timing, right? Peter Jackson's version would have just been so popular then. I could kind of see it. It wouldn't surprise me. That's funny, Jimmy. Or a Fallout total conversion mod would go crazy. Yeah. I don't think Daggerfall really has any total conversion mods like Skyrim does just yet, right? But I feel like the work that would have to go into doing that for Daggerfall would be absolutely insane. But I know there are some Skyrim mods like that. At least I'm pretty sure there are. But yeah, a total Fallout conversion mod, could you imagine? With this type of sandbox and with this type of mod support. Although I know Fallout has really good mod support as well. I still use them for text file backups. What's up, Star Siege? I think that's the first message I'm seeing from you today. Hope you're doing well. And what's up, Techno? Torment Tides of Numenera is a sci-fi CRPG, but it had very little actual combat. Yeah, I've heard of that game. I guess it was kind of a sequel to Planescape, right? I played Planescape Torment. I like that. Though I didn't love it as much as other people. I know that's kind of like sacrilege in the CRPG community. But I still liked it a lot. But it wasn't my favorite Planescape Torment. I'm prepared to get roasted in the chat here from everyone. I just think they went for a generic look to get new players. Yeah, I could see that. Morrowind was too strange looking for an average console player. Yeah, I quite like Morrowind's world. I mean, when you first walk into that world, that's the most unlike, or I guess the most like unique feeling fantasy world that I can remember playing in an RPG. From those like giant squid guys to the way that the biomes are kind of like mushroomy and just sort of not that typical fantasy aesthetic you'd expect. And I love the attitude of the Dunmer population. I mean, that's such an, I don't know, I guess people do talk about it a lot, but it's one of those things that you almost just can't overstate how good that is for world building. These cultures actually feel like distinct cultures. I mean, the Dunmer have a real cultural identity. Their behavior is a cultural identity. Their tone with foreigners is a cultural identity. It's just so good for the world building. And that's just something I always thought Elder Scrolls does well. But maybe Morrowind does it the best. I'm not sure. I gotta finish that game and see it all. But my first impression was that Morrowind does it very, very well. And better than Daggerfall does that. But there are differences, you know. Morrowind is going for more of a narrative focused thing than Daggerfall's pure sandbox RPG. They both have their pros and cons, of course. Morrowind: A Strange World? Yeah, absolutely. And you immediately feel that when you start the game up, which is what I like about it. They did a really good job like defining that strangeness very quickly for the player experience. I agree it'll be insane to see, but that'd be a lot of work. Yeah, for sure. Spiritual successor to it. Yeah, gotcha. Made by the same devs. Oh, was it really? Do you know if it's the same... I know you say the same devs, but do you know if the same writers then were still on the team at that time? I think it was like Chris, right? Chris might have been the main writer for Planescape Torment. I might be getting that wrong. Yo, what's up, Vox? Oh, Vox, did you just become a channel member? I didn't get the notification. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Man, you guys are being super generous today. I always feel weird thanking you guys. I don't know how to show my appreciation, but thank you very much. Morrowind was my first Elder Scrolls game. It's still my favorite to this day. Oh, that's sick. Yeah. I somehow missed out on so many, like all the Elder Scrolls game on release, unfortunately. Which I really wish I had experienced them like in their time periods, you know? In some ways, it's cool that I can come back to Daggerfall, and my first experience with Daggerfall is actually Unity, which is absolutely crazy, right? Oh, Cold Zero as well with the... Thank you very much. That is very generous on top of the super chat. But yeah, I do wish that I had experienced it in its time. Yeah. I missed basically all of them. I didn't play Oblivion during its time. I didn't play Skyrim during its time either. I just missed all of them and came back later. I didn't play Skyrim until like, I don't know, 10 years after its release, which was crazy too. And everyone is on gold or chitin armor? Yeah. And Todd wanted standard fantasy. Oh yeah, well, it's a good thing he didn't get that from Morrowind anyway. I think Morrowind worked because it had lots of anchor points to the real world. The Imperial architecture gives you something to grab onto. Yeah. Yeah, I need to spend more time in that world to get like a better sense of it. It's oddly not very weird, just weird enough, yeah. I couldn't get past the Oblivion character faces. Yeah, they're hilarious. I have, I don't have Oblivion Remastered, but I have the Oblivion, actually, let me check my Steam thing real quick because I have it, I got it on sale. What's it called again? Oh, like the Game of the Year edition's what I got. But yeah, I think I want to get a mod to change the faces for Oblivion because they're kind of hilarious. Chris Avalon worked on Tides of Numenera, absolutely. Oh, gotcha. So it is the same main writer, huh? That's cool then. Because Planescape Torment, I know everyone loves the writing, and I liked it a lot too. He has really good prose, actually. Although I kind of wish that the companions had a little bit more impact on the narrative in Planescape Torment, but otherwise the writing was really nice. Man, they couldn't continue the Elder Scrolls Adventure series. The Elder Scrolls Redguard story was peak. Yeah, that's also Glenn. I missed out on all those. I didn't play any of the spin-offs either, which is weird. I played a lot of like retro RPGs, but yeah, I didn't play any of the Elder Scrolls spin-offs like that. I know there's Redguard, and I know there's Battlespire, and there might be one more, right? Maybe there's not one more. Maybe that's only the two of them. I used to be an adventurer like you, but then the most iconic, probably the most iconic Elder Scrolls line, right? Besides Halt, since every guard does that. I think a number of Morrowind likes are actually too weird. They kind of make you bounce off the world. Interesting. What would you consider one of those titles, Kana? Because it's hard for me to think of, and I'm really not that aware of which games would be like it, since my understanding of Morrowind isn't like perfect right now, since I haven't actually finished it. Have you heard of Devil Spire Falls? It's like a mix of Daggerfall and Morrowind. Oh, the chat's moving too fast. One sec. I'm giving like way too long answers. My bad, guys. I hope it's not too boring to watch me just chat with you guys. The developer's really cool and listen to the community. Yeah, Katz, I've been recommended this game so much from viewers, and I actually bought it finally. We're gonna play it on stream someday, but yeah, I'm excited to give it a try. But I have not played it yet still. I would say that I want a version of the Elder Scrolls gameplay with a less developed, wilder, and more folkloric feeling to the area, but then I remember that's just Tainted Grail. Yeah, Tainted Grail, I guess, is like a proper Scrolls-like, right? That's what people are calling the genre, Scrolls-like, which I think is a pretty cool name for it. Kirkbride in Morrowind actually had to routinely trick Todd into letting him put his weird stuff in the game. He'd create 1,000 times crazy stuff, just that Todd would accept his 500 crazy stuff. Nice. I haven't actually heard the name Kirkbride. Is he kind of like considered the mastermind behind Morrowind then? I've been obsessed with an arena fighting mod for Daggerfall for a while now. I'm surprised it's not made yet. Gladiatorial fights against animals and enemy NPCs would be cool. Crazy nobody has made one? Yeah, what's up, Mad? I think the closest you can maybe do with that is the Lives of Banditry mod. That might be the closest we have right now, which really isn't exactly what you're asking for. Yeah, I mean, I would love more side activities like that. I mentioned that a lot on the channel, that it would be very cool to have some more of these, like, situations where you can fight outside of the context of dungeons, you know? It's one of the things I was missing from vanilla Daggerfall, and there's a lot of mod support to make that happen now, like World of Daggerfall Project, of course, Lives of Banditry Raiders, Warm Ashes, there's a bunch. But, yeah, more specific things like that might have some scripting to the game. And I was thinking like capstone quests to the Fighters Guild, where you have to compete in a tournament. You know, there's a lot of cool stuff that you could add to that stuff that is still kind of missing from modding at the moment, which is understandable because I'm sure it's not easy to make it work. Battlespire Arena Shadowkey. Yeah, Shadowkey. That was the other one. Redguard. Yeah, Redguard as well. I love Dread Delusion, or yeah, but I wouldn't say the world sucked me in like Morrowind. Gotcha. I've never heard of that game either. Stop right there, criminal scum. Yeah, I feel like the halts are so iconic in Elder Scrolls whenever you get guards on you. That game was so buggy, but I couldn't make it run on my machine back then. It wanted only specific 3D cards in order to work, and it still worked like bullets. Yeah, I've never heard of that game. Oh, not Dread Delusion. You're talking about some of the other Elder Scrolls, huh? Okay, yeah. I kind of do want to play some of the spin-offs, like Battlespire looked cool to me. Battlespire, I feel like, is more similar to the mainline stuff, but Redguard, I feel like, has the highest potential upside. Maybe. That's kind of how I feel about it. I don't know. I know some people love Redguard, and it's doing its own thing. That was a lot different. Jumping guards, yeah, that's from the Killer Instincts mod. I could actually show you. It's kind of cool. If I put them down here, they try to make use of their charge ability. Oh, actually, she has a bow, so she might not charge me. But Killer Instincts will give them a charge ability as a new combat behavior. And if I do 145, it should spawn. And yeah, they'll try to charge me like that. So it kind of looks like a jump, which is pretty cool. And pretty deadly if they connect. It actually triggers a double hit. So you get 2 rolls to try and block their charge attack. So twice as strong as a normal attack. Let me catch up on chat here real quick. Oh, guys, by the way, is my stream lagging a bit on YouTube? If it is, I might try and change some settings real quick. I don't know if it looks okay for you guys, but I think someone in Twitch is telling me that it's lagging a little bit, or buffering on YouTube, maybe. Kirkbride wrote some of the more esoteric writings in the game, but he isn't actually the main bulk of Morrowind lore. Gotcha. That'd be Ted Peterson. Oh, okay, yeah. Wow, Ted Peterson was the main writer for Morrowind as well? Man, that's crazy. His contribution to Elder Scrolls is just legendary. Michael Kirkbride was the guy who wrote a lot of the religious stuff and weird lore for Morrowind. He had a degree in Mesopotamian mythology, so he incorporated a lot of ancient mythology. Oh, that's awesome. You can kind of feel that in Elder Scrolls, you know? In general. All the races are pulling from different cultures and incorporating some cool vibes like that. And it really makes them stand out amongst other fantasy races, in my opinion. Yeah, they don't really function how you'd expect them to function traditionally in the fantasy setting. Oh boy, riding a dragon and Weathermancy? Yeah, what's up, Van? We've been checking out some of the new spells here. I think you just pop into the channel now, right? So I can show you some of these spell effects. Let's spawn some enemies here. It's been a little while. Cover your ears, guys. We got some tornadoes, screams. I just love the physics. Okay, I think she actually died to fall damage there. Shpan, Battlespire was originally going to be an expansion pack for Daggerfall. Yeah, I've heard that, which is really cool. Been watching the Pirate Let's Play, super good. Might have to play Daggerfall properly before the Elder Scrolls 6 out. What's up, Ethrin? Or Ethrlin? How do I pronounce your name? But yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, the Pirate playthrough was a lot of fun. It unfortunately... Well, I don't want to spoil it, maybe. I don't know how far you're into it. I won't spoil the ending, but it was a pretty unfortunate ending for sure. Not my proudest gameplay moment. I guess that's bound to happen in a permadeath playthrough, though. Those arrow sounds could give me nightmares, yeah. Oh yeah, Killer Instincts is a must-have, yeah, for sure. Game changer. I really was wishing, Star Siege, by the way, that the Killer Instinct attacks could be used for the player. Like, how cool would it be if we got access to the charge skill? And we do have access to the cleave attack. So if you're using... I think it's Red Rorio the Glenn's the mod author. If you're using his Tome of Battle Addendum mod, then your melee swipes actually do have a cleave effect to them, which is similar to Elder Scrolls Arena. Shpan, Ted Peterson created the original lore, world, races, gods, events, and some books. Yeah, it's absolutely insane. I guess kind of the father of Elder Scrolls then. Or at least classic Elder Scrolls. Let's toss these guys into the air. Yeah, Tad, I downgraded the stream rate. Oh, gotcha. Interesting. Maybe I'm 480 cleaned it up. Okay, maybe that is me then on my end. I'll have to take a look at the VOD afterwards and fix that. It's freezing a lot. I assumed it was because of my terrible internet connection, but more experience, it might be an issue. Yeah, it's probably me. Give me a second, guys, actually. I'm going to see if I can fix this. Let me check my OBS and see what it says. It could just be my internet also right now. I'm going to put the stream up and take a look at it on my own here. Yeah, I don't want it to be lagging for you guys. Oh my god, Tornado Spell is incredible. Yeah, what's up, you know? Yeah, it's really, really insane. Really clean sound effects, or spell effects. Maybe not sound effects. But yeah. And I love the physics. I love how it tosses people up. Yeah, if you guys are lagging, maybe try 480p like Star Siege is saying here. I'm not sure why I would be lagging like this. I've usually been okay, but I am dual streaming, so I do wonder if maybe it's stressing my internet a little bit too much to have both Twitch and YouTube. It's fine now? Okay, good, yeah. Yeah, no, it's a shame. The Elder Scrolls really had the do what you want / open world niche, but each iteration from Bethesda shows they aren't interested in open play. They seem to be more interested in a more traditional structured narrative play these days. Yeah, that was definitely my feeling for Skyrim for sure, unfortunately. Yo, what's up, Eric? How's it going? We're testing out some of this new Weathermancy mods here. But yeah, kind of, I definitely felt that way when I played Skyrim. Which, I actually wrote like a video idea for kind of talking about those differences. It never really came into fruition because I couldn't get the video to be designed the way I wanted to. But I was thinking about making a video where I talk about kind of combining or comparing the Skyrim design for its open world and Daggerfall's sandbox role-playing focus. But yeah, it never really came into fruition. I wasn't really satisfied with my script or the footage I got, unfortunately, but maybe I'll revisit that idea someday. It's kind of funny that most mages just can't do these spells. We know from the lore that Imperial battle mages are crazy. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know too much about the lore like that, but yeah, I mean, spell design in Elder Scrolls is kind of insane in general. Must be all those torrent downloads. Hey, no comments. Stream looks fine to me? Okay, nice. Yeah, it's probably just sometimes my internet might be screwing up with the dual stream I got going on. Yeah. Let's get back on our dragon here. Literally just heard about this mod today and you're covering it? Yeah, Eric, I'm trying to do the live streams mostly to cover these mod showcases. I'm kind of finding it to be a nicer format for this than my usual mod showcase videos. But for the videos, I'll do compilations and I'll keep them a little bit less in depth, I guess, so I can do like a large amount and just cover, you know, like 8 or 10 in a single video. That might be more useful for people that are looking up mods to add. If you guys didn't notice also, this recent update of the Dragon Rider mod lets you use travel options, which is very cool. Or they can try Twitch. Yeah, that's another option too. You guys can also try Twitch if it's lagging for you at all. Orcs are a Tolkien interpretation from Beowulf of Evil Spirit, by the way, so a tornado that works. Yeah. Yeah, kind of amazing that Tolkien invented that, right? Absolutely insane. Another legend. Daggerfall mod pack on Nexus has most of what everyone needs. It could use Killer Instincts added to it. Oh, interesting. Yeah, I know Daggerfall is pretty popular. That's like the only mod pack I know by name. Oh, actually, I guess I also know Weaverfall, for those that like the anime aesthetic. Those are the 2 mod packs I know by name. But I've actually never tried a mod pack for Daggerfall. And I haven't made one for my mod list yet. I know people have asked me for it, and maybe I will someday, but yeah, I don't know. I feel they are cashing in on their nostalgia, but I will be interested in the reception of Elder Scrolls 6 after Starfield. I hope it is good. Yeah, I'm not too hopeful at the moment for Elder Scrolls 6, but I'm definitely like a wait-and-see kind of guy. And I'm hoping it'll be good, of course. I always want it to be good. But yeah, I don't feel like it's... If I had to guess, I wouldn't bet on it being great for me personally. Like for my tastes, you know? But I'd be very happy to be proven wrong about that. It's not starting at all now? Good. Is dragon riding animation also changed? It looks better now? Yeah, this is actually a completely different model, you know? So in the settings, I don't know if the settings are accessible here. Yeah, there's no in-game settings option here, but in the main page, there's 2 different dragon models you can swap between. So this one looks a lot different. This one's actually made by a different mod author. So SquidKamer made this one. And what's really cool about it is that when you dismount, it actually has a proper dragon, you know, thing here. It looks amazing, the artwork. And if you remember the original one just looks like this. It looks like a dragonling, which is much smaller. So I really like how this one looks when you're dismounted. But I think they both look really good when you're actually riding the dragon. I think they both look fine for that. Magic users getting to have all the fun, business as usual, yeah. Yeah, I do kind of wish, and I think we're all maybe kind of waiting for some active skills to be added to martial classes in Daggerfall. That would be really fun. There is the arrow variety mod, which gives you some cool tools to use, but I would love to see like actual active skills for martial classes. Like, could you imagine we had like a charge ability or a proper leap ability or I don't know, something like that could be cool. It is kind of nice that Daggerfall has built-in different animations depending on how you swing. So that kind of gives you the sense of it. Let's kill this Dragonling. Where's he at? All right, we got him. Tolkien used to go on holiday in Snowdonia and the coast where I grew up. Every time I drive through those mountains, I think I know what the Misty Mountains looked like. That's sick, kind of. Yeah. I recently read from Tolkien, actually. I don't know if you guys knew that he did some translation work, but I just read Sir Gawain and the Green Knight. Tolkien actually translated it from Middle English to Modern English, and he tried to keep the same poetic prose that it had. It's actually very cool. I recommend it. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I like some of those older Arthurian stories like that, and the Green Knight's a cool one because the Green Knight really inspired a lot of the druid plus fighter sort of class mixes that we see in some fantasy. It's not a popular fantasy class that games capture, the Green Knight, but it's always one that I liked. Led Zeppelin used a lot of Tolkien quotes. Oh yeah. I haven't listened to much Led Zeppelin, but I do like some progressive rock or progressive metal. I love it that the dragon has more frames of animation. Yeah, I do prefer this one from SquidKamer myself as well. But especially when dismounted, it just looks so good like this. Sweeps so that you knock people down. Yeah, Van, that would be sick. Actually, yeah, Van, like any kind of almost reminds me of like 3rd edition D&D combat maneuvers, like a knockdown combat maneuver, a sweep knockdown, or a sweep combat maneuver. Maybe like a parry combat maneuver could be cool too. Like you hold out your weapon in a parry form, and if you get struck, then you do a counterattack or something. I would love to just see a couple martial active skills added in some kind of mod. If modders could somehow add new animation frames to existing enemies, I think they would look better than 3D models. Yeah, that could be really cool too. Yeah, there's not much of that, I don't think, when it comes to like animation options. I can't think of too many mods off the top of my head that do that. This would be much better for a hand-to-hand fighter, so you can combo. Yeah, something like that could be cool too. I actually really like the hand-to-hand animations in this game. I can't even remember. Oh yeah, going down, you get this roundhouse one. I always like this roundhouse one. The uppercut looks good too. His main job was a translator. Interesting. I didn't know that. I knew he was a professor at... I think he was a professor at Oxford. Is that right? I think that might have been what it was. But yeah, I would say his translation of The Green Knight is really, really good. I read another translation from someone else that was also good. But Tolkien managed to capture that like poetic prose that they were going for. And it all was in Middle English, so I wouldn't be able to read like Middle English correctly. So you kind of do need like unless you're someone that studied that field, you would need like a modern translation for sure. Pesky Dragonling, yeah. He did a lot of Welsh mythology. For some reason, my forebears were really into their beheading games. Yeah. Hey, Kana is someone that knows a thing or two about the Green Knight, I guess. He knows about the beheading game. Tolkien spoke 24 languages. That's weird. Yeah, that's absolutely insane. I did not know it was that much. That's insanely impressive. A proper polyglot, then. Elder Mountain Hammer. Seems to be gone now. I think you're having pocket loss during that time. Oh, man. Yeah, I'm going to have to take a look at my settings. I was trying to push it, like, kind of the furthest I could go. Like, 60 FPS and then also dual streaming. It's probably not the best with my setup, honestly. Maybe for the next stream, we'll just try 30 FPS. I don't know. Maybe I'm still 30 FPS right now. I don't even know what my own stream settings are right now. But yeah, I'm going to watch the VOD. I appreciate you guys letting me know, though, because that's really useful. Professor at Oxford. Yes, yeah. That's right. Hey, dude. Awesome to see you. Sorry I'm late again. Damn it. Awesome new dragon you're riding. What's up, Valentine? Yeah, this is This is from the new update. The new model looks really good. And the new dismounted model just looks absolutely incredible here. As you can see, Valentine, I don't know if you were here to see this earlier. But yeah, good to see you. Hope you're doing well. It's a common trope in Welsh/Brythonic myths. Gotcha. Why? I have no idea. Honestly, if we could change it so that you could make the different swings, you give you a stacking buff or something. So left, right gives you increased armor, while right up gives you crit. Yeah, isn't there another... There is a game that has this system. Are you thinking of a specific game, Van? Because that is sounding really familiar to me. That wasn't that amazing. The update, it looks way better, cleaner. Yeah, it does look really good. SquidKamer actually made this one, not the original mod author. An oversimplified version of how the Lord of the Rings came about was that Tolkien invented some languages and needed some people to speak them. Yeah. Yeah, I know. He was super passionate about languages, and that very clearly comes across in his works of Middle-earth, of course. No? Okay. There is a game that does this, though. If I can think of it, I'll let you know. But yeah, there's a game where like certain animations give you some kind of stacking passive buffs. I believe it is the ancient wisdom. No one comes back when you chop their head off. That is why the headless horseman was such a scary thing back then. Yeah, it definitely could be something like that. I wonder how much of that's rooted in some kind of actual like historical moments, especially with more like noble people. Could you imagine like a beheading game like actually happening? It sounds like it almost had to have been, because in Sir Gawain and the Green Knight, the author introduces the beheading game, but they don't like really explain it. So it feels like something that people at the time sort of like already would be aware of or something. That's kind of how the author like introduces it. Like, oh yeah, we're just playing one of those beheading games. You guys know those, right? Like no explanation about it. It's just like a challenge to the to King Arthur's court. Dude, look at your dragon. It's beautiful. No sus. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's so nice. I actually thought the original mod, like riding on the back, I thought it still looked good too. But I do prefer this green one for sure. Tolkien was also seeking to create a modern mythology for the British people. Yeah, that's what I heard as well. I don't know the exact details, Techno, but maybe, I think he said something about how a lot of ancient British mythology was lost, maybe due to the Roman takeovers at the time, maybe. And that's why we just don't have like a record of that stuff. And so Tolkien kind of created Middle-earth to fill that gap. Is that right? That sounds like maybe. I feel like that's what I heard, at least. There are myths where they save people by taking their head off. Interesting. I don't think I've heard that before. That's kind of cool. This was actually my first time reading any kind of Arthurian story. At least like the later ones that the French wrote during like the chivalry era and stuff like that. I thought it was pretty cool. I liked it a lot, actually. And I like that it's short. It's not like a massive time commitment. I like reading, but I don't usually have like long reading sessions personally. It's when I'm feeling lazy, it's just so much easier to game. But yeah, every now and then when the mood hits me, I do like reading like that. And I like shorter reads generally. But yeah, I thought it was good. I recommend it. Britain had no mythology of its own, so Tolkien combined Norse mythology with English folklore to create a unique English mythology that was his passion for it really comes out in all of his works anyway. Just color change it back to purple, it's still great, yeah. Yeah, it would be kind of cool if we could just have like some palette swaps on the color for the dragon. I don't know how hard that would be to do. It's not because of Romans. Romans actually didn't burn the old teaching. It was the Christians later, sadly. Oh, gotcha, cold. Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I didn't know that, actually. I know the Romans were some of the earliest to write about druids that they discover in the English, and I guess northern France was called something else back then. I'm sure one of you guys knows the name. I can't think of the name off the top of my head. It would make linguistic sense. Middle Earth is the middle of the era between ancient and current, and the middle is where all the confusion and mess is. Tolkien could have made that on purpose. The name, gotcha. That's kind of interesting too, yeah. Yeah, I'm not too familiar with all that stuff. I did read The Lord of the Rings a very long time ago. I do mean to reread it at some point as well. There was a thought that the Welsh mythology was missing since they were already Christianized after Rome. Truth is, the Welsh culture is very much its own brand of Roman culture. Interesting. Yeah, I also know that, I think, at least from what I heard, was that because of the Irish Sea, the Romans didn't get to the Irish as quickly, right? And so a lot of their older mythology actually survived a little bit longer. At least that's what I heard. Because we actually have such good information on Irish mythology and a lot of the older Celtic mythologies in general, I guess. Like, everyone knows a lot of those classic characters, like the Morgan. They just kind of survived throughout the centuries for some reason. I'm not exactly sure why, but yeah. Looks like a little bit of frame drops on the side now. No. Yeah, sorry. Oh, the Gaul. That's exactly right. Yeah, good call, Techno. The Gaul is what they were called, yeah. The Romans actually wrote a lot about druids, which is very cool. From the Gaul and the English, I guess, yeah. Man, I'm gonna have to check. I'll have to check once the stream's over. Go through the VOD and see where the frame drops were and all that kind of stuff. I hope it's just like an internet thing and not something else with my setup, because I do like being able to dual stream. But if it's too taxing, I might have to stick to YouTube, which would be really, really sad. I'm trying to build up my Twitch. And speaking of which, guys, actually, if you're also on Twitch, it is a huge help if you follow me there, Shpan_. But if you just like YouTube better, that's okay, of course. Whatever's more comfortable for you guys. But yeah, it does help me out. I love those barely mentioned things in ancient texts that make modern audience go, hold up, want to explain that more? Yeah. Yeah, I know, especially like a beheading game like that. It's like, okay. Welsh has more in common with Latin than it has with Saxon Nordic languages. Interesting. Yeah, I really do like that history and that era. And it's really cool how you get that in a lot of fantasy. That history comes across in fantasy with Arthurian stories and stuff. It's really nice. I don't know if you guys have read other Arthurian stories, if there's a good one you could recommend me, but I've only read Sir Gawain and the Green Knight now. I've read both Tolkien's translation, and I think the other translator was called Morris, something Morris. His was also very good, but it wasn't poetic, the prose. It was more focused on giving you the narrative, but it was a cool touch. And he wove in some Middle English, which gave it a nice vibe. I know the story that the church burned the huge Druidic book where all the births and deaths were recorded in the history. That's absolutely tragic, Cold Zero. Yeah, I didn't even know about that. It is very cool, though, that we have ancient Roman texts where they talked about druids. I just love how fantasy and history collide in that way. Like, now we take the concept of those classic Celtic spiritual leaders, those priests from then, and we add the fantasy element to them now, and it's an awesome way to kind of celebrate that old history, those old cultures, and bring them into new stories. That's what fantasy does, right? That's why I love it. The Romans had no problem with local mythology. It was a hybrid, but very much Christian culture. A lot of early saint stories come from during and just after Rome. Yeah, it's kind of interesting as well, because even when the French wrote about Arthurian stories, there was still a sense of pagan magic that still existed. And I didn't actually look into it very much, but I thought it was so weird reading The Green Knight and seeing that there was still references to pagan magic, which I just thought would be so weird for a Christian society to do at the time. I would have thought they wouldn't even want to mention that stuff, but I guess it was still enough a part of the current culture maybe that they couldn't just not mention it. But of course they attribute it to evil stuff, obviously, but it was very interesting. The Green Knight mentions the Morgan or something like that, which would just be a pagan god, right? So it's kind of interesting. I feel like anyone watching this VOD is gonna be like, "Where's the Daggerfall gameplay?" I'm just flying around, chatting it up with you guys. I think it's a mistake to try and pull the Christianity out of Welsh culture. They have been entwined for so long. The Britons, before the Saxons turned up, were still making some Roman-style homes. Interesting. Yeah. Yeah, history is messy like that, right? But yeah, I thought it was interesting that some of those pagan elements actually survived in some fundamentally Christian works. And I kind of wanted to look into it a little bit of like why that was the case. But yeah. The idea America and Americans have no history or culture, or though Genesis is wrong, we have it. People are taught that. We don't, but we do. I mean, we definitely have a history and a culture for sure. 100%. I read only one Arthurian story, but it was different than the movies. Merlin was captured in a tree. Interesting. Not ringing any bells to me right now. I don't really actually know too much about like Arthurian stories, actually. But yeah, I might look into like a few more of the stories since I enjoyed the Green Knight a lot. I really love the fantasy elements, especially the barbarian kind. Yeah, maybe Valentine, you like sword and sorcery stuff. If you're thinking about like Robert Howard type of barbarian, Conan stuff. Tolkien's Arda is a mix of Norse, Welsh, and Finnish mythology. The Finnish is where it gets a lot of its more alien concepts for elves and languages, since the Finns are quite distinct from Europe. Interesting. Yeah, I didn't know he pulled from a few different sources, and you can kind of see the Norse one pretty quickly, and the Welsh one as well, yeah. But I didn't know about Finnish. That's interesting. By the way, to avoid confusion, Britons are what the Welsh used to be, kind of. Genealogy is always complicated. When Arthur calls himself King of the Britons, he's talking as a Welsh king. Interesting. Yeah, I kind of know about the older version of King Arthur before the later writings kind of turned him into a chivalry guy. I know he was more like a warlord in like the early writings of him. But yeah, he must have been around in oral tradition also. Since some of our earliest writings, there's like some, I don't know what work it is, but there's some very old early writing that is talking about some hero, and the line that the writer wrote was like, "He's no Arthur," which is such a cool thing that we have in history, because it kind of tells us that people back then already knew of some sort of like mythologized Arthur as being this really crazy and powerful leader, right? So it's kind of cool. Gotta run. Very fun streams, man. Take care, everyone. Hey, thanks again, Cold Zero. I appreciate it. Hope to see you next time. Domesday, the book is called. Okay, interesting. Do you feel like the mod needs to give enemies the ability to attack you easier? What's up, Box Guy? There's actually a couple mods that help with that, Box Guy. If you don't like how the combat behaviors are right now, if you feel like it might be a little bit too easy, you could grab a mod called, I'll write it in the chat for you, Killer Instincts. And this mod adds a few different combat behaviors to enemies, and it depends on the enemy type. So I can actually show you as well. See how this guard charges me? That's one of the new combat behaviors added. And it'll do like a double hit if it strikes you. And certain enemies that are flying, like Dragonling, will actually fly into the air now. So they can actually get some verticality, which makes them harder to hit, and then they can dive down on you like that. So Killer Instincts adds a good amount of variety if you're interested in spicing up combat. There's other challenge mods as well. It's hard for me to think of it off the top of my head, but there's a couple other ones out there. You have to see the movie Excalibur if you're into King Arthur stuff. Yeah, that's the 1980-something film, right? I actually have not seen it, but it's on my list. It's one of the few on my list because I don't watch too many movies, but some of those older like 80s ones I've been interested in recently. And yeah, I did watch the original Conan movie, which I liked. And yeah, Excalibur I feel like would be a great one. It's on my list. Reading more OG Arthurian writing sounds interesting. There were some interesting ways people tried to fit fairies into a Christian framework, like partially fallen angels or spirits in purgatory. Historical Arthur is pretty fun mystery, yeah. Yeah, you could definitely see that in... I mean, I only read The Green Knight, but you can see that pagan influence on some of it, which I thought was really interesting. I was kind of expecting it to be just purely Christian work. But yeah, there are references to the Morgan. And the Green Knight himself seems to represent some kind of old magic, something that existed before Christianity had come to the area. At least that's how the French writer depicted it, which I thought was very interesting. I think during his time period, though, his work was not popular. So I don't know, maybe he didn't get any scrutiny on it. Maybe it would have been not very accepted the way he wrote it. But of course, the writer was a Christian, but he just used interesting pagan elements, and he sort of like not just reworking the pagan elements, but actually including it as its own separate magic, something separate from the Christian mythos, which I think is interesting. Peace and love, Cold Zero. Oh, yeah. He turns up in a eulogy where they talk about how awesome a warrior was he, but he was no Arthur since he died. Yeah, exactly. Isn't that really sick? I wonder if that really comes from like the oral tradition then, that people in that society had already had a concept that Arthur was this legendary leader or warrior. But I know before the French really got involved with the King Arthur stories, I know he was seen as like a much more like violent warlord and like a conqueror at the time. And I think that was like before 8th century or like around 8th century, I think. I was looking up a little bit when I was reading The Green Knight, but I probably have the years wrong. Go watch the Gore movies. Is that also sword and sorcery stuff, Star Siege? Or is that like an acronym for something? GOR? That charge is so fun because it makes you feel nervous to see it the first time. Yeah, and especially if you're in dungeons and like narrow hallways, it can it can definitely trip you up. At an early level, it could like really chunk you depending on the enemy. Let's actually check out a farm battle and let's use some of these skills for fun. I didn't actually do that yet. I don't know if warriors have begun raiding. Okay, this is also from Warm Ashes here. So sometimes at a bandit camp, you could actually trigger a bandit raid. It's kind of rare, though. Oh, excuse me. The name for god in Middle-earth, Eru Iluvatar, comes from Finnish mythology's Kalevala, epic's god named Ilmatar. The Kalevala is kind of a similar project of, but for the Finns, a national epic. Very cool. Yeah, I know a little bit about Eru. I know a little bit about Tolkien mythos, or I guess you guys call it Legendarium, right? I'm not like that well versed in it, but I do know a little bit about it. I kind of like how Tolkien built a Legendarium that was like actually had like a hierarchy of different deity creatures and stuff. Oh man, that guy got tossed. Man, this looks so sick. I can't get over this. I just have to find a way to edit out the sound. Oh yeah, good point. Most things were an oral tradition before getting written down back then. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I don't think we would know the very earliest like mentionings of Arthur. I think it predates all the surviving texts we have, at least. But yeah. Yeah, the sound is kind of too harsh for me on the Tornado. It sounds okay for the lightning. But the screen, like the screen going white like that, is a little bit too much for me as well. Like, it actually kind of hurts my eyes. Best guess, if Arthur was a real person, he is an amalgam of different people. There's a famous warrior, a later king, who may have contributed to becoming Arthur. Yeah, that's what I've heard too, kind of, that it's, there probably is not one specific historical figure that actually fits in correctly. But yeah, kind of sort of like a amalgamation of sorts of different leaders or conquerors maybe at the time. I stopped using Warm Ashes because it corrupted my save. Have they finally updated it so that it works better? Do you remember how long ago that was, Van? There actually was a complete reboot of the Warm Ashes mod. So he, SquidKamer, had two really old versions of Warm Ashes. One of them was just kind of the original one that was Wilderness, and the other one was the High Seas or whatever. That was probably 2 years ago. Yeah, it's been updated. He did a complete reboot. So the old ones, you don't even want to use them anymore. His new one's just called Warm Ashes, maybe Wilderness Encounters, and it includes both the high sea stuff and the wilderness travel stuff. It's a lot more stable. It's a lot better now. Yeah. He also added a bunch of like scripted raids and encounters that can happen, so it's pretty cool for sure. But yeah, I remember having issues with the very old one as well, but I think my mod list was kind of messed up when I first started playing, so... It's fascinating how Arthur's story changes through times and reflects what people valued at the time. He defeats his enemies and conquers the world, but later he's more noble and Christian. Yeah, when the chivalry craze got absolutely insane in France, he was really reflected in that, which gave us some very epic stories, though, and a very epic like fantasy concept, so it's cool still. I love sword and sorcery stuff, pigmen, ladies, kings, and ancient cities, etc. Yeah, me too, Valentine. I'm a big fan of the sword and sorcery aesthetic. And part of that is because I also like a lot of like retro fantasy artwork, and it kind of ties into some of those old paintings. But you know, artists like Boris Vallejo and stuff, Keith Parkinson, Clyde Caldwell, Larry Elmore, yeah, all the classics. But yeah, sword and sorcery is something I would love to see captured more often in fantasy games and RPGs in general. And part of getting that capture is to... oh, that was kind of sick. Jumping off a high ground and then mounting your dragon and flying away. I want to do that again. That was cool. But yeah, having more narrow scope on the narrative, you know? A more regional story that's less about saving the world and is more about something like revenge. Better Manwë than Melkor? Yeah. I actually do know both those. My Tolkien lore is okay. It's not great. It's not too bad, though. King Arthur was likely influenced from a Welsh warlord who was in power when the late antique little ice age struck Europe. For 18 months beginning in 536 AD, the skies were blanketed in volcanic ash. That's absolutely insane. Yeah, I heard that there is... it's hard to pinpoint like the specific historical figure. That's what I read, at least. But there are some guesses that people could make about who might have spawned the original character. Original upload date was 2023, and I didn't download that version. Gotcha, yeah. Yeah, it's kind of cool that he rebooted it, because I think some people did have issues with the old version. The Britons were top of the world, been downhill since then. Oh, and Welsh Rabbit. I'm not familiar with that either. Gandalf, Sauron, and the Balrog were actually beings on the lower rung of that hierarchy. Yeah, I think they're all the same power level, right? Fiffinger? All three of them? Like around the same power level, at least. 70s and 80s artwork is on epic level. Yeah, some of my favorite stuff. It's still very inspiring. A lot of role-playing concepts I make in characters in like Daggerfall are based on those old retro fantasy paintings that I look at. I have a huge collection on my computer, actually, of a lot of the paintings. How to mount your dragon. Yeah, this is kind of cool. This would be really sick in like a low magic character. If there was like some escape moment here where I had to run, leap off, mount, and fly away like this, that would be awesome. Man, I gotta set up some kind of like really cool supercut for a short where I run away from bandits. My mount's waiting for me at the tip of this... Let me save this here. Build a little short 2-minute story. Where I'm about to die, leap off. And we fly away. Oh, I missed the click. Conan in a lot of sword and sorcery is older than Lord of the Rings, but doesn't always seem like it. A lot of Robert E. Howard's work feels like it was written by someone going through today's world. Yeah, for sure. It is. It's really old, right? It's like 1920s, I think, his work. Am I right about that? Is it that old? But yeah, shockingly old. That's so cool. I gotta set up a little encounter here. My max speed is like a little too fast on this dragon. That causes a little bit of lag in these locations. If I turned my world terrain down to like 1, I probably wouldn't lag that much, but if I stay in like a localized area, then I won't lag, and the speed is crazy. I love how the customization options for this mod let you really go crazy with it if you want to. You can get really, really fast speeds if you're just in the mood to soar through the air. More or less, though, Gandalf has limits he's not allowed to pass except in really bad situations like the battle with the Balrog. Yeah, that's kind of why he was put in the old man form, right? That's what I heard. I heard he was given that form to also restrict his power, which is a cool concept. Britain once controlled 1/5 of Earth's surface, not including Antarctica. Yeah, it's absolutely insane. It's ridiculous. Welsh rabbit is fancy cheese on toast. It's like a cheese paste made with flour and beer. Oh, that's cool. I've never heard of that. I would really like to go to Wales and Ireland. I have a lot of Irish ancestry in me, so. But I've never been to Europe before. I've been to Asia, but not to Europe. And I think I would want to go to Ireland first if I was going to go to Europe, because they have such beautiful natural world stuff. They got beautiful castles. I just love that stuff. So I think I would probably choose Ireland if I can go anywhere. In Europe, at least. Someday, we'll start the stream goal flight to Ireland. Chasing the well too much. The Battle of Camlan is almost certainly inspired from the late antique Little Ice Age, as it occurs 1 year into the volcanic eruptions, and it deals on a lot of imagery of the world becoming dark. That's very cool. Yeah, I have not. I don't even know like what that was written in. The Battle of Camlan. Yeah. I am kind of like a history buff, but it doesn't really translate to me studying it. I just like, but I do like that stuff a lot, and I love how it informs fantasy. It's my favorite part about history. And fantasy is just such a beautiful thing. That kind of escapism. Tolkien wrote some really powerful words about why fantasy is so valuable to us. I wouldn't even try to sum it up. You guys should look at what he had to say about fantasy, but yeah, it's beautiful stuff. It's something anyone that loves like fantasy RPGs like us, or reading fantasy, we can feel it, but it's sometimes hard to put into words. But yeah, this night scene is absolutely beautiful right now, right? And I actually think these Dragon Rider light beacons are very pretty. They're not too disruptive. Early stuff. Instead of working for the local factory, Howard became a shut-in writer. Interesting, yeah. Yeah, I know he was doing a ton of work for... Also, wasn't he doing work for, like, some of the... Oh, man, those, like, magazines, like Tales of the Weird. I can't think of the exact names. Yeah, and he was friends with Lovecraft. Yeah, exactly. That was kind of their era. Just crazy how far back that kind of fantasy writing goes. And how sword and sorcery is still... I mean, even though it's not as popular as sort of traditional fantasy, still a very beloved genre, of course. Arrow didn't want the wizards to feel like they could just come down and solve the problems themselves. They would need to find people they could elevate and take care of it. Yeah, exactly. I like the idea of making them restricted in that old man form. If you go to Wales, I would suggest going to North Wales. Mountains and castles you see will inspire Tolkien. Yeah, I mean, that'd be absolutely beautiful. That'd be a dream for me. Check out Wales. Check out Ireland. That would be the top two for me personally. Check out Clark Ashton Smith. He has some cool necromancer stories and the Zothique stuff, something different. Yeah, I've never even heard of that, Eric. Sounds sick, though. Is that like traditional fantasy or more sword and sorcery like we were saying earlier? I think you would love it. Yeah, I definitely would love it. There's just no doubt in my mind. I think my favorite playthrough of Daggerfall has been my Enchantress playthrough, mostly using speech and illusion instead of trying to directly use destruction. Yeah, that's really cool, Van. I actually made a character called like Master Linguist, I think I called it. I can't remember what I called the class. I didn't get very far in the playthrough, but there is something very satisfying about relying on language skills in this game. I think part of that comes from the fact that Daggerfall's language skills are just extremely, extremely unique. It's so hard to think of like other RPGs that capture it quite like this. And even then, there are many ways I wish I could expand on it. But yeah, very satisfying to make like a very language-focused build in this game. I love the night scenes. Yeah, me too. Absolutely. It's so beautiful right now. We don't have any music playing. It's kind of interesting. I wonder why it's like that. It's kind of peaceful though. But usually I like that one nighttime theme. I can't think of it right now, but yeah, it usually plays. Let's hear if it comes here now. It feels like I have like the music off or something, but I don't. Snowdonia and the Marches. Dark, dark, and spooky, yeah. Escapism is the word Tolkien used a lot, yeah. Yeah, for sure. He wrote some really beautiful words about why escapism is really useful for even adults and a very powerful thing. Battle of Camelot is the last battle King Arthur fought. It probably was never influenced by real battle, but rather the general chaos that ensued when plague and famine hit from the lack of sunlight. Gotcha, Techno. Yeah, that makes sense. Rather than actually being a historical thing. Would be great if the dragon sprite was darkened with the night. Looks like the rider is lighting up the dragon with a headlamp. Yeah, this actually a computer. This might be because of my torch. If I take my torch off. Oh, no, you're right, actually. It still kind of stays like that. Yeah, that's interesting. It's like a built-in light on the dragon itself. Maybe that's just how the sprite was made or whatever, but yeah, it's not my torch, actually. Same here, I love history, but being a historian is depressing, to be honest. I used to do some academic works for it, but I'd much rather write fiction inspired by history. Oh, that's really cool. Yeah, I like history a lot, but I do prefer fantasy to history. But I do like them both a lot. I don't consider myself like well-versed in history, but I do find history interesting. Clark Ashton Smith is legit. He does really fit into either category. He's more like reading a fever dream. Interesting, yeah. Is Clark... Oh, you're saying the thing about Sword and Sorcery game is that it's one of those I know it when I see it kind of genres. Though to be fair, you can say that about most genres. Yeah, I do think it's kind of hard for people to capture the essence of Sword and Sorcery, especially in gaming. Sometimes they lean too far into certain things that maybe don't represent it perfectly. And other times, it just kind of feels like more traditional fantasy. It's hard for me to think of games I feel like really capture Sword and Sorcery for video games. Maybe like Dark Sun, but that kind of depends on the module as well, right? The nighttime theme with the bells. Yeah, it's the one that I always played in the background for my videos. Maybe we'll come across it. If I rest like a couple hours, it might trigger a song. Let's do that real quick. Let's see what happens here. Let's loiter, or just actually, let's just rest like 2 hours. That actually is not triggering a song here. Let's head to another city here real quick. This town. The Scottish Highlands are the kind you would feel like an epic Sword and Sorcery belongs. The mountains and hills and fog, yeah. Of course, we have those here in the United States, too. Yeah, United States has really beautiful topography. And really good variety of that topography. It's actually one of the beautiful things about this country. Especially if you're a fan of going to, like, national parks. America has some of the prettiest. I went to, like, Lake Tahoe area, even, a few years ago, and it's really, really pretty. That's not like a national park, though, or anything. I'm sure the national parks are even way beyond that, of course. But, yeah, United States has good variety of beautiful landscapes. Clark Ashton Smith was old school, but he outlived Howard and Lovecraft. Interesting. Yeah, I know there's actually some modern writers that are trying to do Sword and Sorcery as well. I can't think of this author's name. He, and his story was really cool. He wrote about, like, the last stand of a warrior. And he himself was suffering from cancer, and he used his fantasy story to kind of like represent that, but in like a Sword and Sorcery context with a warrior making his last stand, which was really cool. I didn't actually read it, but I just read about people talking about it on the fantasy subreddit. Oh no, it's this song. This is my least favorite song in the game, though. I probably could get rid of it actually by changing the weather, right? Yeah, okay, good. Makes it kind of hard to see in the dark, but maybe that's the point. Yeah, maybe. But it is kind of weird that it looks like I'm holding a torch even when I'm not on the back of the dragon there. Roston Saga does. Interesting. Dragons can glow in the dark if they want to. Yeah, true. We won't question them. You might need to reload the save. Yeah, maybe. But I think just fast traveling might have fixed it here. Kind of weird, though. I'm not sure what that was. He did non-Sword and Sorcery too, but I like his fantasy stuff. His prose is really different from people like Howard. Interesting. I did read some of Howard's work. I actually thought Howard was a pretty good writer. And I just feel like some people kind of write off his stuff as not being like that well written, but he kind of had like an old school feeling, and I guess that's part of the era. like it's hard for me because I can't really compare him to other writers from that time period since I haven't read too much from that time period. But I actually thought like Queen of the Black Coast was pretty good, and he had some really interesting like ways of writing scenes. And I had to reread the section where what's her name again? Not Belle, like Bev something. I can't think of her name. But the scene, and little spoiler alert for this 100-year-old story, but the scene where she dies and she's hanging from the ship, the way he wrote that without explicitly saying she died, by using the color red to sort of like reference her necklace, but then also reference the blood. I actually had to reread that like 5 times to fully grasp it. I thought that was really good writing. But I haven't read too many of his stories. I've just read kind of the more famous ones, and I thought they were pretty good. Though I just don't have much other sword and sorcery to compare it to be fair. Sometimes just walking through a small forest area makes you feel like a sword and sorcery world opens up just at Rip in the Wood. Yeah, for sure. I mean, that'd be sick, Valentine. Just a little bit of transporting to a nice little sword and sorcery world. I think sword and sorcery is difficult because it isn't a real time in history. It's difficult to make it work with modern world building approaches. Yeah, I will have, however, that traditional fantasy isn't medieval, it's early modern. Yeah, that's true too. I do think also, when it comes to like games, usually people want like a narrative that has very large scope, you know, either world saving or some kind of threat to a civilization. And sword and sorcery tries to be more narrow, generally, in its scope. Its storytelling is more personal, usually more focused on revenge or dealing with like a local warlord or a local issue, not so much a whole country or a whole world, which we just don't see as much in gaming. Yeah. On fairy stories. Clark Ashton seems legit. He really does fit easily into either character. It's more like a fever dream, yeah. Yeah, I don't think I've heard the name Clark Ashton Smith before, actually, before you guys mentioning it today. There isn't much actual medieval fantasy. Lord of the Rings is medieval fantasy with Oxford slapped onto the western side, yeah. Yeah, things like the Prancing Pony and those type of taverns, I heard those really didn't exist in the same way during medieval times, and they're more modern. Like some kind of form did exist, but it didn't quite look like how it was written. At least that's what I heard from people. Howard's writing had an energy that is hard for people to replicate. Yeah, for sure. I have this big book that like compiles a lot of his works. I just haven't gotten to all of it. But yeah, I did like the Queen of the Black Coast. I've read a couple others. If I heard the title of the stories, I would know which ones, but I can't think of the names off the top of my head. It's funny going back through literature and seeing their contemporary criticisms of prose. In Dickens' time, his own work was considered something akin to modern-day Hollywood films, really. Yeah, kind of hilarious now. Lord of the Rings is heavily based on English folklore and Norse mythology. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can really feel the Norse stuff as well. I think Tolkien was just a huge fan of Norse mythology, right? I think he also did his own translation for Beowulf at some point, I think, as well. I think so, yeah. He's also part of the time when fantasy and science fiction weren't really set separate, yeah. I heard during that time, it was a little snobby. The, like, sci-fi was considered more serious and more, I don't know, more artistic maybe, and fantasy was kind of considered not the same at the time. That's what I heard anyway. I'm going to set up the standing desk real quick, guys. I think, however, a lot of people don't quite get the classic dynamics of the Lord of the Rings. The hobbits are a bunch of toughs, and their gardener, Sam, is the OG everyman, yeah. I do think it's kind of misunderstood even today. There are just a lot of people talking about Lord of the Rings, though, now, and you could, if you want the information, like, you can actually do a lot of good deep diving on it. There's so many people in like the Lord of the Rings subreddit to explain it very well. I think Tolkien's a master at weaving themes into his narrative. And that's something he did with The Ring, and especially the end of the story that I think is like unmatched in storytelling for me. how he managed to, I mean, kind of regardless about how you feel about the Christian inspiration, I just mean more about the actual writing, like the ability to weave those themes into the writing, into a fantasy work, into the plot of that fantasy work is just so impressive. A lot of people will say like Tolkien's Lord of the Rings story is more about talking about the nature of evil and good rather than a story about good versus evil and how evil destroys itself, which I think is a really cool thematic concept to build a fantasy story around. And that's one of his like superpowers, I feel like, Tolkien, is he had these thematic concepts that he wanted to build the story around, and he managed to do it so beautifully, so artistically. So I love the concept of how Frodo's earlier mercy for Gollum is ultimately what leads to the destruction of the ring. And I also love how Frodo was unable to destroy it in the end. Those are two beautiful choices there by Tolkien. But yeah, the idea of weaving in that, for him it was a Christian element, but even for people that don't follow the Christian faith, it's still just beautiful writing. And the ability to bring those themes into a fantasy story, I think, is very cool. Yeah. I mean, he does a lot more than just that, of course, though. His beautiful writing of like the landscape and just capturing a classic Fellowship companion fantasy story, of course. But yeah, a lot of good writing. Pippin is a literal prince. Sam doesn't have much say. He just gets told he's going. Pippin is a fool of a took. That's what I've heard. I have it on good authority that Pippin is a fool of a took. I think every Brit can relate to Sam, at least the working class. I think class divides kind of flies over a lot of Americans. Yeah, maybe. I'm not really familiar too much with like how he built up the Shire to reflect that English or different like classes of the English. I haven't read too much about that, and I'm sure I would have missed a lot of it as a reader. Partly because I'm not British, and partly because of the time period differences and stuff. I gotta read Lord Dunsany. People say, or Dunsany? People say he is the OG of fantasy writer. I've never even heard of him, I don't think. That was a later development, I think? Oh, okay, gotcha, Fiffinger. Yeah, I had heard about that a little bit. Where fantasy was a little bit looked down upon at the time, and sci-fi was considered like the more artistic escapism for adults, I guess. Frodo Baggins, Samwise Gamgee, Peregrine Took, Meriadoc, Brandybuck, Fredegar Bolger. The Shire is very much Oxford. Interesting. You're right that taverns weren't like what we see in fantasy. You had different classes of taverns, but mostly they were for locals. The ones most like in fantasy were ones set up for pilgrims. Yeah, that makes sense. And I think they were kind of more modern creations, right? Because everyone in fantasy kind of has that vibe that you think of when you think of the Prancing Pony in Lord of the Rings. That nighttime, raining, late night entering, and everyone's got a room up there, and there's something to eat for everyone. And it's mostly a hub for travelers that have some business in the town, you know, for that week or that month or whatever. It's a kind of a staple in fantasy, which I love. Like even Icewind Dale kind of starts out that way. It's so classic. It's just such a cozy, familiar fantasy trope. I actually love it. I think my OBS is supposed to tell me when I dropped my frames and stuff. I'm looking over here, but there's no actual like list here, but I wonder if I also like shut down some of my browsers, maybe it would run a little better as well. That could be possible. I had up like the Weathermancer spell page just to reference it because some of the different weather abilities did some stuff like buffing stealth and interesting stuff like that. So I could probably close out of that now, and that also might help a little bit. I don't know if you guys noticed me like dropping frames or anything recently. You meet in a tavern. Yeah, exactly. There's an interesting point about class division. Sam's way of acting like a loyal servant always came off as merely his personality for me. Yeah, me too, Keaton. That's kind of what I thought of, but yeah, I definitely would not pick up on like the history of that time period's like, you know, English class system at all, of course. That would have gone way over my head. Basically, all that is how they were, minus being for travelers, unless they were set up on a pilgrim's road. Gotcha. The richer ones also served as a place to exchange information. Yeah, that makes sense. Green Dragon would be a good name for a tavern, just saying. Yeah, it'd be kind of fire. Green Dragon. Someone mod it. Bring it to Daggerfall. I think people don't realize how litigious medieval people were. That you couldn't be in an inn and sell alcohol unless you paid taxes for being an inn and for being a tavern. Most pubs were just that, a public house, someone's literal house that got beer in it. British people would rather lose a leg than show themselves up. It's ingrained. Mr. Frodo, yeah. I can't help but hear the actor's voice. What's his name? Sean something? Though, actually, I don't know about you guys, but when I was young, I read The Hobbit. But I actually read the Lord of the Rings series after I saw the movies, which is really weird. And I actually did not really see the faces of the actors when I read the book. I wonder if any of you guys had seen the movies first and then read the books, if you were just like completely stuck on seeing all the actors and hearing all the actors. For some of them, I did. Like for Sam, I did hear the actor when I was reading the book, but for most of them, I didn't. And I felt like Frodo from the book is just so different from Frodo from the movies. Though I still think Elijah Wood did like a good job for what he got. But when I read the books, I didn't get this like infantilized image of the hobbits that the movie gives us. The movies really made them feel like children, and they don't feel like children at all to me in the books. I think for the better, we're slowly losing that ingrained reverence for the upper classes. Yeah. Oh, are you British, Gunna? I guess I forgot if you mentioned earlier. Or maybe English, I should say. Yeah, you had alehouses for the lower classes, taverns for middle and upper, and inns for pilgrims. Yeah, that makes sense. For British people, it used and kind of still is frowned upon to act outside of your social class. It used to be very toxic. Yeah, I could imagine. Probably not that long ago, even too. Oh, okay, you're Welsh. Oh, that's awesome. Oh man, that's why you were mentioning that earlier. Okay. Oh, I didn't realize you were Welsh, not English. Gotcha. I hear you loud and clear. Hey, what's up, Zavi? How's it going? You're a hero? I'm honored. Hope you're doing well, Zavi. All right, I'll remember that, kind of. How do I pronounce your name correctly, by the way? Am I saying it right when I say that? Nasty hobbitses. We hates them. Yeah, I guess Andy Serkis's performance is kind of ingrained in me as well. I didn't read Lord of the Rings, but when I read The Hobbit, everything felt totally different for me, different world in my mind. Yeah. Yeah, I kind of feel like the movie's portrayal of the hobbits is kind of weird after reading the books. It's all good, you know, the first time. Nice. Man, I love Wales. I looked at like a travel vlog for Wales, and yeah, some of the natural beauty in that area is just unreal. That stuff to me is like straight out of a fantasy world. I mean, I think the United States has some very nice landscapes as well, but it's just different, you know? And my, like the type of aesthetic, the type of flavor, I guess I could say, that I like the most is like that type of either Irish or Welsh kind of topography and landscapes. Very, very pretty. Frodo was in his 50s in the book. Yeah, exactly. And his portrayal is just like, I don't know, in the movies, they're so infantilized. They really feel like children. Of course, like the charm that hobbits have, it definitely comes across in the books. You know, they're definitely still less serious people generally than humans, elves, and dwarves. But they just don't come off as children to me. I just didn't get that vibe at all. It's a Welsh surname that's kind of rare, so I don't mind if people get it wrong. Oh, gotcha. Okay. Yeah. That makes sense. Isn't Welsh one of the few of the older like Celtic languages that still has like a decent population of people that still speak it? I wonder, kind of, are you able to speak any Welsh, or did you learn it? I think in Wales they do learn it in school when they're young, right? Am I right about that? I think Welsh has like a better population that still speaks it than like some of the other Celtic languages now. And it sounds real. I follow someone on Instagram actually that is like all she does is kind of go over Welsh language. So I just kind of follow her for fun, and yeah, it sounds very pretty. Actually, all the Celtic languages sound really pretty to me. I don't just mean the Hobbit movie though, also the Lord of the Rings movies, great as they are. Yeah, me too. I like them, but I just had a different, I don't know. Reading the books, I didn't always feel like Peter Jackson captured the feeling correctly all the time. Though the music in Lord of the Rings alone elevates those films like immensely. It makes a lot of those emotional moments even more impactful. Howard Shore's soundtrack for the Lord of the Rings is just unreal. I still feel like it's the best out of any movie. Tolkien said hobbits look like children of humans, but only from a distance. Yeah, mostly the height, right? Their hairiness, though, would change that up close, I guess. By the way, Wales has the most castles per square mile than any other country. Oh, that's sick, yeah. Yeah, castles would be on my list. I'd go to probably some of the more well-known ones, but maybe look for a few hidden gems as well if I ever travel to Wales. To be fair, in most of the time in the movies, we're kind of seeing the hobbits through the eyes of the men and Gandalf. Yeah, that's true too. Yeah, especially like how Faramir treats them, Boromir treats them. But I just kind of think also it's partly Elijah Woods' performance that made me feel that way sometimes. And to be fair, he was very young, and he has a very young look. Yeah, when I read the books, I don't see Elijah Wood's face for Frodo. I used to speak Wenglish when I was a child, but I've lost it. I intend to learn again. Problem is I want to learn North Welsh rather than South Welsh, which is standard Welsh. Gotcha. Did you have to study it in school though? At least like a little bit as one of your like required subjects? I live in West... Oh, let me put up this... My bad, guys. If I'm missing any chat things, you know, as always, feel free to repeat yourself. If I don't respond, it's just because I missed it, that's all. I got the standing desk up, so I have to like lean down a little bit to see some of the messages now. I live in West Colorado, and Festus reminds me of the landscapes I know and love well. That's awesome. West Colorado, huh? That's cool. Yeah, I've only been out west, or more towards the west United States when I went to Lake Tahoe. So yeah, I really haven't looked around those areas too much. There's a lot of like really pretty landscapes in America that I need to get out and look at, and more traveling that I need to do domestically. But I haven't traveled too much in general. I've been to South Korea. I've been to Canada. I've traveled to a few states on the East Coast, of course. I've been to Florida and Lake Tahoe. But yeah, I'm sure Colorado in general has really, really pretty topography. Peter Jackson turned Lord of the Rings into an action movie, but it was still pretty good. Yeah, I know Christopher Tolkien really did not like what Peter Jackson did. I read that quote about how he felt about it all. Yeah. I know like die-hard Lord of the Rings fans might not love it, but I still love the movies for what they are. Though after reading the books, I felt they were much different for sure. Tolkien rarely even writes about the battle scenes. They're so short and compared to what the movies focused on. And Tolkien really did not like to write explicitly about even any battle scene or violence, which was interesting. It read a lot differently than I was expecting from the movies, the expectation the movies created for me. Building a new Daggerfall only thief build just died in a large farm battle. Nice. Yeah, I've had a couple of those farm battles finish me off as well. I feel like they're super risky early on in the game, especially if you got killer instincts. You'll get charged and just die. I still need to finish the books. I started Fellowship, but just kind of stopped. It does, just don't come in the late fall or winter or look like 2000 FPS. Yeah, you definitely should finish reading them. They're good. The wildfires here have sucked, though. Climate change has been very noticeable here. Yeah. Yeah, that's really sad stuff. I mean, kind of lucky on the East Coast that we don't see too much of that kind of stuff. And when we do, it's usually coming from like Canada or something where it's really bad, and then we get the debris coming here. I'll notice that sometimes, but the one nice thing about living on the East Coast is, in general, weather is just not that extreme in any way. We can have slightly extreme winters, but not as bad as up north, of course, or like northwest, of course, as well. True, yeah. In Wales, some of the castles are literally just sitting inside some farmer's land. Thank God we have right to roam in the UK. That's sick. Also, no Tom Bombadil. Yeah, exactly. And actually, Tom Bombadil, speaking of that, what's up, Sandstorm? I think that's the first chat I'm seeing for this live stream. Hope you're doing well. I don't feel like Tom Bombadil. I know a lot of people criticize that, even as like book readers, like, oh, it was so long and drawn out. That was like, I did not think that at all. It really was not that long. It was like a single chapter. And Tolkien's chapters are never that long. And it was kind of interesting. It was kind of like dreamish and weird for sure. But I did not feel like it was like that much of a diversion or like a distraction from the main story. And once it's over, it's kind of over. So yeah, I think he could have easily fit into the movies. But yeah, I guess Peter Jackson just didn't feel like adding it. I guess when you're making a movie, when you're adapting it to that, you kind of have to make some cuts right. But yeah. Yeah, it's mandatory to learn Welsh. That's cool, yeah. I think that also might be true in Ireland for Irish. Though I could be wrong about that. I kind of love the Celtic names, though. A lot of people that do like Instagram content showing off, like, how do you think you pronounce this Irish name? And it's like totally not what you'd expect. And sometimes I name my Daggerfall characters. You might have noticed, I don't know if you guys noticed some of them, but sometimes I name them after like Irish names that I like Etain for a female name. I like that name a lot. And Aoife. There's some other ones too that are cool. But in general, I really like Irish names. Oh, nice. I've been to South Korea too. I love the landscape in East Asia too. Yeah, South Korea was beautiful. I actually lived there for a little over 2 years. I was an English teacher there before I got my current job. That was a long time ago, though. That was 8 years ago now. But I loved my time in South Korea. And being an English teacher was very fun there in that era. Just blame Canada. I've been to Korea since I was a kid. Want to go again? Yeah, it's absolutely beautiful. And incredible food. Actually on the East Coast, we have a lot of good Korean restaurants too here. So it's kind of nice. Just expensive compared to actually being in Korea, but yeah. I miss my time there. But I visit every now and then. I still have some friends there, so I try to go back like once every 2 years I've been doing for like a week. Hot take here, I prefer the Lord of the Rings movies theatrical cut. Oh, interesting. I don't know if I've actually watched the theatrical cut. I've only watched the extended edition, and I saw The Two Towers in theaters at the time when it first came out. But I've only heard that people hate the theatrical version, though I have no idea why. But I have watched the extended editions, which are really good too. The Lord of the Rings reads like a history/mythology book, like Beowulf and the Green Knight. It's nice to read it as a diegetic test. I don't even know what that word means. You're learning about a culture with its poetry and music, a collection of writings. Gotcha, yeah. Yeah, it's very... I was actually surprised at how... how much it felt like one of those older mythological stories. And I know Tolkien was going for that, and I actually even knew that before I got into the books. But when you actually read it yourself, it's kind of surprising just how much it comes across like that. Especially the way the characters are written. I think that comes across, you know, it the most for me. Only videos prefer the theatrical cut. Yeah, I've never watched it, actually. In that sense, the films kind of missed the point. They recorded a lot of the songs, but cut many of them, which I think is a massive shame, although I kind of understand why they were cut. Diegetic means in world or of the scene. Gotcha. Yeah, actually, that also was a surprising thing. If you ever read the books, Tolkien bursts out into songs very often, especially in the Fellowship. And sometimes they're kind of long. And without having like an actual musical reference to it, you're kind of reading a song that it's kind of like hard to understand the purpose outside of sort of building the characterization. You know, these characters burst into song because it's part of their cultures and stuff. And I do think Howard Shore, though, speaking of like the songs in the Lord of the Rings movies, I think Howard Shore really managed to capture how I feel like the elves would sing. There's just something so like, I don't know, like mystical about it. The melodies are absolutely beautiful, slightly haunting. I don't know. It's got so much like elegance to it. Those melodies. Yeah, Howard Shore's ability to capture Middle-earth with his soundtrack is just like unreal to me. I've been using a lot of Byzantine and Caucasus names lately. That's interesting too. Diegetic is like Dracula or Frankenstein when the framing device is a text in the story. Oh, okay, that makes sense to me. Gotcha. I don't think I've even heard of that word before. I have family in South Korea. I used to live East Coast in Virginia, living down south in Alabama now. It's so hot here. Yeah. Oh, that's really cool, Eric. I'm not like what's it called? I can't think of the word right now. It'll come to me. It's on the tip of my tongue. Like, ethnicity-wise, I'm not South Korean. But yeah, I lived there for 2 years, and I thought it was amazing. And I did a couple of those, like, bamboo forest treks. I did a lot of the mountain climbing stuff because people love that in South Korea. It's so popular there. Yeah, Korea is, if you guys don't know, it's just filled with mountains. And even at the school that I worked at, when I would get off the bus stop, like in the distance, I could see 2 huge mountains. It was actually absolutely crazy. But yeah, it would be really nice to have family in South Korea. You could actually visit more often and not have to pay the expensive hotel fees. You could actually live or stay with family, I should say. Wow, that barrel roll just took me like halfway across the map. Where did I just go? I just teleported. The songs do add context, but I think I love it because you feel you're discovering a real people reading one of their texts. Yeah, it's interesting. I didn't know how to feel about it at first. In the beginning, I liked it, and then I felt like there was a surprising amount of it, which is okay, but without like an actual proper melody in my mind, I just didn't know how to think about them. Other than the fact that they're giving, you know, like context to the people and the cultures, of course, which is cool. Always thought the Fellowship movie was the most Tolkien-like, if that makes sense. Yeah, I think also the Fellowship might be my favorite. Though, I really like Theoden as a character. And I really like Bernard Hill's portrayal of Theoden. I think he passed away, unfortunately, recently. Or a few years ago. But, yeah, he was incredible, Theoden. And his delivery on that speech with the how did it come to this line is very, very powerful. Although I think only in the extended edition do you see him mourn for his son with Gandalf. That's also a very powerful scene, really elevated by Howard Shore's soundtrack. Watch that with your headphones on at night or something. It's just so beautiful. And the best of the trilogy, yeah. Korea has the best looking women, in my opinion. I don't like they turned Gimli into comic relief. Yeah, I think what they did to Gimli is the worst part of the movies. Like, actually, the worst part of the movies. And it's actually kind of, when I rewatch it, it's actually kind of frustrating to rewatch it with how bad it is, I think. think that character is like nearly completely butchered in the movie, and I feel like it's the only character that was that poorly implemented. It's actually crazy how unserious he is compared to how he is in the books. His whole speech to Legolas when they're on the canoe together in the books, where he's talking about the what's he saying? He's talking about when he got Galadriel's hair, and he's talking about the peril of joy. I mean, that's just such a beautiful, beautiful, insightful, and great moment for the character, and you just get nothing like that. Although I guess the extended edition did try to incorporate that scene, but it's like his one serious scene, and everything else he does is a complete joke. Like, I don't know. I see what they were going for. They wanted to take that character and make him the comic relief, but they really... and also the influence of it was so bad on future fantasy dwarves. Like, a lot of people took from Peter Jackson's inspiration and kind of, in other works as well, kind of ruined them or turned them into jokes. I don't like how they turned Denethor evil. Yeah, that's another one. And even Faramir was a lot worse in the movies than he was in the books. I kind of love how this turned into a general nerding out of conversation. Yeah, Fiffinger, I feel like all my streams turn into just like a awesome conversation like this. It's actually part of why I'm loving the stream so much. I feel bad that I have trouble playing and then also reading chat, so I just end up just reading chat for like an hour. But this is a lot of fun for me. Speaking of which, let me catch up on some messages I missed here. Yeah, Denethor was crazy what they did to him. Gimli, I think, was the worst. Half is Swedish with a little bit of Danish and tiny amount of English. True Amerimut? Yeah, I'm mostly Irish. I have a little Italian in me too, and some Polish. I love the scenes with Aragorn and Theoden. Such beautiful moments, yeah. And great writing and acting and music in tandem, absolutely. The actual like spectacle of the movies with how it all comes together, from the music, the acting, and a lot of the writing is good too. It's just, it's such a beautiful trilogy. They butchered Merry and that other Hobbit more, in my opinion. Oh, interesting. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think that's true too. I think they've all been pretty butchered. I liked Gimli a lot. I liked the book version of Gimli a lot. So for me, that kind of hurt the most, I'd say. But yeah, I know. Also with Merry and Pippin, it wasn't great. Though Merry, I think, was better than Pippin, honestly. I think they could have had more of Gondor represented. When you read the book, you discover a land with lords in different realms. In the film, it's the middle of nowhere. Yeah, it is kind of weird how a lot of the set pieces were filmed. Everything feels massively isolated. Like every single location is just like massively isolated in the movies. It's kind of weird. You don't get any real sense of like the, I don't know, local areas outside of those major hubs. I just like the way the dwarves are portrayed so comically in contemporary fantasy. Yeah, I really think we have Peter Jackson to partially thank for that, Keaton. It's kind of unfair maybe to completely blame him, but maybe also we can blame a little bit of Warhammer, right? Warhammer kind of made them... Though Warhammer, they're not really silly in Warhammer, they're just barbaric, maybe. But I always think of like the Warhammer dwarf slayers that are kind of crazy. But I do think Peter Jackson is a big part of why people kind of went with that portrayal of the fantasy dwarves, which I don't love. Though some works try to fix that. Sometimes I listen to the Rohirrim music, it's so good, yeah. I got the whole list on my YouTube playlist thing. Never toss a dwarf, yeah, that's one of the standouts I remember as well. Irish-Italian mix here, yeah, similar to me, Fiffinger. They make him a beer-swilling oath, but in the books, people keep commenting about how eloquent he is. Yeah, for sure. I hasten to add, I did like the movies, yeah. Yeah, it's kind of insane how they ended up portraying him. Yeah. Especially if you read the books, yeah, it's just so different. I perform some of Tolkien's poems once a year at a local Hobbit event. Oh yeah, Vox, that's sick. That's crazy. Man, I wish I had something like that near me. I bet you actually in New York City there is stuff like that at like local places that come up maybe like once a year or something, but nothing like too local for me probably. But that's really cool. Which poems from Tolkien do you usually perform? Hi Sandy bro, seems like all anyone down here wants to talk about is sports and gossip, yeah. But I love the books before the films. Yeah, it's interesting. For me, kinda I didn't actually read the books before I saw the movies, so I kind of grew up with the movies and loved them when I was younger. Movie Sam is still the GOAT, though. Yeah, I like Movie Sam. And such a powerful performance by Sean. Ian was best Gandalf. Yeah, Ian's also really great. And of course, Christopher Lee, right, for Saruman is unreal. His speech is incredible when he's talking to the crowd of, or I guess the army of Uruk-hai. It was really cool to chat and see these new mods in action. I'm looking forward to more of your streams in the future. See you, Shpan. Hey, thanks for hanging out, Katz. Always appreciate it. Take care. Warhammer's pretty evenly distributed silliness. Yeah. This is why the Fellowship movie is better, in my opinion. It focuses on the Fellowship's journey, and you follow them through Middle-earth and really feel the scale. The later two dance around set pieces. Yeah, the later two are really focused on the battle scenes, which Tolkien really doesn't spend that much time writing about. It's kind of an interesting difference. I mean, the actual movie depiction of Helm's Deep, of course, is an incredible cinematic feat. It's like nothing else, really, that's been captured in cinema. But Tolkien did not spend much time talking about these battle scenes. They were not like entire chapters. I think Tolkien very intentionally, maybe to a fault a little bit for me, but he just really did not want to depict war in any sort of, I guess, positive way or like celebrated way. And he didn't want to, he really shied away, I guess, from a lot of the violence, which I can understand. He was a veteran, right, from one of the world wars, World War I, I guess, so. Yeah. Was World War I or World War II for Tolkien? I'm getting confused on the timeline. But yeah, he really did not want to glorify war at all, so because of that, we kind of didn't get much of combat scenes in the books, which I kind of like combat scenes, so for me, it's a little bit of a miss on like preferences, but I understand like the context of the work itself, so I can understand why he did that. But I also, you know, part of the reason I think depicting the actual war and stuff, it can be interesting or can be powerful or can have merits outside of entertainment is, it also depicts very clearly the stakes, you know, it very clearly depicts the heroism, and there could be a lot of value in that, I think, but it's just a difference of opinion. Tolkien wanted to go that route for his own reasons, for sure. But yeah, I was kind of mixed on that decision by Tolkien. The Adventures of Tom Bombadil is my go-to. Oh, very cool. Man, that's sick. Yeah, Tom Bombadil's a cool character. Him missing from the movies is crazy, right? To war! Yeah, such a powerful performance by Chris Lee. My dad was a massive book nerd. I generalized into just a plain old nerd, hence the book reading. Nice, yeah. Tolkien fought in the trenches of World War I. Gotcha. Okay, guess what I thought. It makes more sense. I'll give the films credit. The battle scene at least looks like actual battles rather than a mosh pit free-for-all. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they're absolutely insane. I mean, the spectacle, the visual spectacle is ridiculous. Very powerful. I wish video games took more of Tolkien's approach to the portrayal of violence in that case. Video games have no good excuse to be so violent at all. Yeah, I guess it's kind of still a preference thing. But Tolkien was very specifically trying to capture, you know, like, I guess the essence of what he saw as fairy stories. And it's important to Tolkien, or was important to Tolkien, that he captured, you know, good moral themes, and that his story was also a teaching work. And that's why some of his criticisms of other stories, like Dune, he didn't like Dune very much because he felt it was too pessimistic, maybe, and that the characters didn't rise to do good things, but instead did things because they were the lesser evils, which I don't think he likes in his sort of storytelling things. So yeah, it's kind of interesting. What Tolkien was going for was something very specific. So from that context, I can understand it, for sure. I'm kind of confused at dwarves being the non-magical ones. Definitely wasn't like that in the original mythology. Like, just in general, not in Tolkien, where the dwarves' level of magicalness was fairly well explained, I think. Yeah, that is kind of interesting. I think that's kind of a later Dungeons and Dragons interpretation, where that kind of got cemented more as dwarves being really focused on the martial prowess and not being like magically inclined. Whereas it's not that way in Norse mythology, right? At least I don't think so. World War I for Tolkien, World War II for his son Christopher. Oh, interesting. I didn't know Chris was also a soldier. I love the movies, but the Battle of Pelennor Fields could have been better, yeah.
But I've heard production was rushed, so we missed all the farmland that was crucial to the battle. Gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense. I guess they had to pick and choose on which battles to really do like the deeper dives on and capture correctly. In the books, the cities have more urban surroundings, rural. I mean, in the books, the cities have more rural surroundings. Yeah, I mean, it's like you basically... I guess in the Fellowship, you see it a little bit in the surrounding lands to the Shire. But, yeah, like when you get to, like, Minas Tirith and Osgiliath, you don't get any sense of, like, a rural landscape where there's other towns and villages and stuff in the movies. Though I guess part of that was, like, building set pieces, and I guess they didn't want to do that for everything, of course, but yeah. The north of Middle-earth is supposed to be desolate. You can interpret the land to be post-apocalyptic. There's a shade of the collapse of Rome in the greater lore of the books. Yeah, I know that was also part of it as well. I didn't realize, though, that was also shade of the collapse of Rome, though. I didn't realize that was what he was going for there, though. Showing cities with a proper amount of farmland has become my recent obsession. There was someone that did like speaking of that, Fiffinger, there was someone that did like a painting on YouTube that was like a recreation of Whiterun from Skyrim, and but trying to scale it up to what like an actual civilization would look like with the farmland. And yeah, I wish I could paint like that, man. I wish I could draw and do that kind of stuff, but it was really cool. Even in games like this, like Daggerfall is hilariously decent at depicting civilizations just because of how large the maps are, but Skyrim definitely was not. And yeah, it's kind of cool to see someone's interpretation of like those lands and like actually depicting proper amount of farmland and all that. Arnor, the Kingdom of the North was destroyed by the Witch King. They were also hit by a plague. Gotcha. Yeah. Speaking of which, have any of you guys played the War in the North, the new Lord of the Rings game that just got, remastered? I played the original on PS3 a long time ago. I gotta say, if you guys like Lord of the Rings, the War in the North is such a cool... it's definitely going for like the Peter Jackson aesthetic. So it's more Peter Jackson than it is Tolkien, but they tried to take it very seriously. And they have a really good, respectful take on Lord of the Rings, War in the North. And I really recommend it. If you like action RPGs, kind of similar to like Dark Alliance or Champions of Norath, if you played those games, the gameplay's okay. It's not like amazing, but you get to go to the like all the cool areas from the movies and books. You get to see Rivendell. You get to see some of the Dwarven locations. You go to the Prancing Pony. Voice actor's really good. And they tried to tell their own story that was taking place during the Third Age, during the War of the Ring. And but you're like side characters that were doing their own thing. You were combating Sauron's forces elsewhere while the Fellowship was doing their thing. And it's got a very respectful approach towards the work. Definitely recommend War in the North if you haven't tried it out. Speaking of post-apocalyptic collapse of Rome theme, I must again recommend Age of Decadence to any appreciators of RPGs. Yeah, I've heard about this game being talked about a lot. It's on my list. I got such a huge and frankly ridiculous CRPG backlog I got to get to. Fun fact, the Fellowship of the Ring movie was made 3 years after Daggerfall came out. Yeah, that's actually crazy to think of that timeline. It feels like it should be like 10 years after. The Shire's isolation is attitude saved them, and I don't want to rant anymore, but if the Lord of the Rings movies didn't happen, we would have a jungle Cyrodiil. Yeah. Yeah, I know. I've heard this. They didn't even realize the king who they promised to look after the Brandywine Bridge has been dethroned is because of the agreement that the Rangers patrol the border of the Shire. After all, I'm only a caveman. One thing Grail gets my praise for is making the farmland around one town an actual adventure location with its own encounters and secrets. Yeah, I mean, I do want to look at other Scrolls-like games like that as well. I look into it. Yeah, I recommend it. It's cool. But if you don't like the combat, then yeah, it might not still be good for you. I think the combat's just okay. But yeah, I think we're going to wrap it up here. as always, guys, this was extremely fun. I love hanging out with you guys. I love chatting. And also, I want to thank you guys again for all the support for the members and the super chats. It's really generous of you guys. And yeah, I think I'm going to keep doing like, you know, random streams throughout the week like this, like I mentioned. We'll try to keep a more like consistent schedule for weekends. And I think like noonish my time was okay for the European crowd as well. It seemed like you guys were saying it was okay. But yeah, this was really fun again. And I think the next one actually we're going to be looking at is the new vampire overhaul mod. If you guys have not looked at Astrid's vampire mod yet, it's got a ridiculous amount of features and work that was put into it. It has some voice acting. It has like more role-playing mini context scenes that happen depending on what you do. So it's really, really ambitious and really exciting. So we'll go over that mod showcase sometime this week. And yeah, thanks again for hanging out, guys. Always appreciate it. And take care.